I say go Tigers one time?
No. You can say it 0 times. I'm glad Justin's in the chat.
Hello, Palmetto Exotics. Oh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to From the Ground Up podcast. What are you so surprised about? Oh, man.
Someone's comment in the chat is about to get deleted.
So, Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics said, LSU sucks. End sentence.
So if you're going to say that, then I get to say go Tigers.
I read it. Okay, sure. You just said it, though.
And you put it on the screen.
So what does that mean?
Okay.
So if you guys don't know, LSU is playing Alabama this week. Therefore, it's a shame, but the Tigers are going to be handed their second L. After they got beat by the lame Alabama team. Right? You guys lost to Auburn? Who'd you lose to? Oh.
No.
Who'd you lose to?
We haven't lost.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, yeah, you're number 1.
Thank you.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Thank you. I'm just going to let you keep talking till you realize.
I forgot.
That we're,
it's been a week off of college football.
Yeah.
We both had bye weeks this week. So
and it's high tension in this house this week. And I was very courteous and asked if I could bring it up. And I got shot down. And then this happened. So,
well, I mean, since Justin brought it up, that's
okay. Just playing the cigar guy, huh?
The who guy?
Cigar guy.
Who? So, Theportcitypythons.com. We have some available animals. I feel like I said that weird. We also have some available shirts as well as springtails and sphagnum moss. So, you can, and yes, we are sharing headphones again because we didn't want to buy ones at 7-Eleven. We keep on buying cheap headphones and breaking them the next day.
Or let's not
like in a couple of weeks.
We're not. I'm not accepting a we on that.
Oh, sorry about that. It's all my fault. And as far as anything else, what else do we have to say? This weekend we have the Oaks Reptile Show. If you're in the Philadelphia area, come check us out at the, I don't know what is it actually called? It's like East Coast Super Show or something. Yep. I don't know. Yep. It's in Oaks, Pennsylvania. Check it out, as well as White Plains, which is like New York Metro Reptile Expo or something else. Do you realize that we don't even know the real names of these things because everyone just calls expos by their
a reptile show or an expo or, I mean, Repticon. You always know it's Repticon, but when they're like a different name, you don't remember them.
Yep. I don't know.
You should specify. We'll be in the basement. We got special instruction emails about being in the basement this morning. Did you read it? I forwarded it to you.
Yeah, I read it.
Yeah, I didn't read it. I don't know if they're actually special instructions.
No, it wasn't anything bad. It was just come early and come in the back door, basically. You're a fucking child. I can't say come in the back door.
Well, if we read it again, it's not funny.
Oh, sorry. We're losing our young audience here. The hell?
This is PG-13 podcast. But yes, we'll be at White Plains and at Oaks, like he said. If you see us at White Plains, we're gonna be a little less enthusiastic, probably.
No,
it'll be 2 shows in a row.
Pumped.
If LSU wins, I'm gonna be hungover. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna be at the show or on our way back from the show during the game, though.
No, we're leaving the show early too. Yeah, so if you are coming to the Oak Show, you better get there before 3:00 because
we may leave early.
We're leaving early to be home for the game. This is a very long intro. Someone said, did I miss the mag announcement? Oh, we never said that we're in the magazine.
Well, that's why we have Billy and Justin here
to
today.
Say that?
No, not necessarily. We put it out on social media, but yeah, I guess we have.
We should have probably said it last week that hey, we're in this thing. That's new.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Sorry, Justin and Billy.
Thank you, Mrs.
Do it now for 2 hours.
Okay, go for it.
So, if you haven't realized already, or I haven't said their name, 6 times before bringing them on, today we have Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics and Billy Hunt of Uwabami Reptiles. And Melissa was looking at me, waiting for me to mess that up, and I didn't.
No, I said it because he said Palmetto. I was like, what is a Palmetto?
But Justin and Billy have teamed up to bring you the Herpetoculture Mag, and it is an online magazine for reptiles, but I'm going to let them talk more about it. So, Justin, Billy, welcome to the podcast. How are you guys doing?
Jesus. Get my man titties out the way, and we're good to go.
It looked like we popped up on chat roulette or something. With
Yeah. Hey, sprawled out on my bed, spread eagle.
Sorry for the extra long.
That's a perfect reference for everyone our age. But
got my SECF 2019 shirt from last year. I wear these things all the time.
Yeah, you got to rep it up. So what do you guys rep it up? That's pretty lame, huh?
Yes.
So how did you guys first meet each other through? I mean, I know Justin had Billy on the podcast, but how did you guys meet each other?
You want me to take it? I'll take it.
Yeah. Rock, paper, scissors.
So I started being friends with Jacob first with the IJs and stuff. And I didn't meet Justin until Carpet Fest last year. He actually stayed at my house. So some guy I've never met, I'm like, yeah, come on, go over to the house. Him and Jacob came over and we just kind of hit it off. You know, he's not weird like he's showing right now. Yeah, since then we've just been keeping in contact and started to do this project together.
Yeah. Actually, it was Jake that introduced us. I thought Billy was older than me by a lot. Not that Billy looks old or anything like that.
Now you have to all see your ages.
Jake talked about him like he was some like older guy. He's like, yeah, man, you talked to Billy Hunt at all? And I'm like, no. He's like, oh, he keeps carpets and stuff too. He's like, so then we started hanging out. And then he came on the podcast, and then we hung out at Carpet Fest and all that good stuff. And then, I don't know. You want the backstory, like the magazine?
Well, and also before the show, what I was told is we didn't meet at Carpet Fest. It was something like, oh yeah, the tent night or something.
There was we had a special moment.
That was at Carpet Fest.
The tent at Carpet Fest. Me and Billy shared a tent.
Even though you just met?
No fear. Yep. No fear over here.
Okay. Close quarters.
So Billy, you're in
Britney
Florida.
Spears can marry somebody after meeting them for like 2 seconds. Me and Billy can hang out together in a tent.
That pretty much happened, yeah. But Joe, I'm in Florida.
Yeah, so you guys went to Southeast Carpet Fest then, and you guys are going to be there this year too, right?
Absolutely.
That's the plan. I'm already trying to negotiate with work to get it off. I may quit if I don't get those dates off. I may legitimately tell them, you either give me those dates or I'm gone. We'll see.
Good plan, man.
Wait, then you can definitely go to Daytona and Tinley next year.
Hey.
Yeah.
Your schedule will be all cleared up, but your wallet may also. So it'll be weird to get to. That's what sucks is when you have time, you don't have money, and when you don't have time, you have money.
It's true.
Very true.
That's true. So how'd you guys come up with the concept of a magazine? I mean, this is something that obviously Reptiles magazine, when we were growing up, basically, I mean, it was a staple everywhere. And then it just seems like obviously in-print magazines fell out of favor, and we've had some people try online magazines and stuff, but what made you guys kind of take the leap and decide to do an online magazine?
It was actually something that I started last year by myself. I was working in that sort of the publishing realm for about 2 years at that point. So I was like, man, I know how to do all this now. Like, I figured it all out. So I was like, I'm going to start one of my own. You know, a lot of the motivation was Reptiles magazine. I have nothing against them. You know, I was subscribed to that magazine for probably 10 years at one point. And I just noticed over time, it just kind of got stale. You know, I used to really look forward to getting in the mail every month or every other month, whatever the schedule was. And then it just got to a point where I just didn't even open it up anymore when it came in. So I was like, man, I missed the days of getting an issue where there was something for long-term, like veteran keepers, something for newer people, like field herpers, venomous guys. There's always something for everybody in the issues. And so I kind of wanted to bring something like that back in a sense. Just like the podcast and stuff, you know, I figured if I have the ability and I have the equipment to do it, then I kind of have an advantage, and I should sort of be the one to do it. But then I ended up not having time for it. At that time, I was working that job, and I'd stare at a computer screen all day and then come home, and I didn't really want to do it anymore. So I ended up shelving it. We were also trying to learn. I was trying to learn InDesign on my own at that point, and any Adobe program, if you've ever used it, the learning curve is like 90 degrees. So I ended up kind of pitching it for a while, and then Billy came to me a couple months ago and was like, "Hey, man, if I help you out, will you bring it back?" And I said, "Absolutely." And we got rocking and rolling from there.
So Justin, I mean, you just mentioned all the design aspects of it, but Billy, kind of what do you put together for the magazine?
Me?
Was that
Billy?
Sorry, I took my
What?
headphone out for a second.
No, I'm just saying, what's kind of your role in the magazine?
So I took this on not really knowing anything about making a magazine. He pretty much said it was too much for him to do by himself. And I was like, all right, well, you have somebody now. What do we do? Like, let's just get started. And I'm slowly learning. Like the first issue, Justin did a lot of it, but I'm starting to learn the process and everything. So as far as editing stuff and, how to make the layouts look good and all that, just slowly starting to take the load off of him a little bit. But
It is much easier.
How hard is it? I mean, how hard was it to find people to give you content for your first issue?
Oddly enough, that's the easiest part of the whole thing. Like,
I feel like at least having the podcast, people know of you, so it's kind of an easier ask, I'm sure.
Well, not even that. Even when I was doing it by myself, I had a full issue's worth of content within a week or two. Like, you just go to people, say, "Hey, I noticed," Instagram, whatever, message them, say, "Hey, I noticed you're keeping veiled chameleons," or something of the sort. Anything that really kind of caught my eye and it looked like the person knew what they were doing. It was like, "Hey, if you're interested, I'm doing a magazine. If you feel like throwing me an article for it, I'd appreciate it. If not, no big deal. We can circle back, whatever." But that's really the easiest part. That's kind of the most hands-off part. Because once people send it, most people are actually fairly decent at writing. Like, we haven't had any articles that were.
It sounds like your faith in people's writing skills is not.
No, like when I worked for the magazines and stuff, it was the same way. People would send in some articles every now and then, and some of them were just horrible. Like, just grammar-wise, spelling and stuff is just an absolute train wreck. But we really haven't had that issue. Like, Riley did an article on Mad Hogs last month. That was like immaculate. Like, Riley can write. Riley's really good at it, and I don't like to edit too heavily either when I'm going through stuff. I like to keep the author's sort of tone and style intact. My old boss at that magazine job, when I first started that job, I was actually writing for a pet and wildlife magazine. And I was submitting articles at first before I got the job, and he would just take it and like completely almost rewrite some stuff and using tones and things that I would never use, and it completely turned me off. And so when I went into this, I said, I'm not going to do that to people. Small edits, keep it simple.
Yeah, and even I was able to write for it. So thank you for you guys both including me on the first one. And honestly, man, like to have someone ask you to write for a magazine, doesn't matter like what the context is. I was just so pumped because it's a magazine and it's like something that we don't have in the hobby right now. And I feel like it was very valuable to us, growing in this hobby. And I'm glad that someone is at least trying to keep it alive, and especially in a space where you're not just doing the how to breed a ball python article.
Yeah.
Although that's fine. I'm sure that's fine. But
everyone knows how to do that now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the introduction to the hobby, is you figure that out.
Well, I mean, that's calling it Herpetoculture Magazine, which I know from me, people are probably tired of hearing that word because we use it for everything. But in my defense, and Billy is my witness, we tried to find something else to use, and we couldn't. Like, nothing else really worked. Like, that was it. And I mean, the magazine itself too, it's not going to be just care articles and stuff. It's not going to be how to build vivariums. It's going to be like editorials, like kind of the stuff Keith McPeak writes and Scott Borden and, business aspects of the hobby, just like really all encompassing anything. If it has to do or is related to herps in any way, we want it to be in there. We don't want it to just be like, oh, an article on how to keep boas. Oh, an article on how to keep Herman's tortoises. Oh, an article on how to keep berms. Just care articles. I don't want it to be that. I want it to be like Nipper's article on herping grease. That was a great article. A lot of people complained about the language. We have since decided to start keeping the magazine clean.
That's what I was about to say. The cool thing about it is that I know
Yeah.
cursed, but
I was all for it because I was like, you know what? There's plenty of magazines out there that use language. Guess what? It's in the dictionary. People will be fine. It's just a word. And apparently that's not the case. Apparently people don't like that. So
yeah, we blew that in the first 5 minutes of this show too, though. That's we try to do the same thing and it doesn't.
90% of the time.
But it's a lot easier in print to edit yourself. So going ahead, I mean, what are you trying to highlight in the magazine? Obviously not curse words, but what kind of subject matter?
Well, just like Jacob was saying, it's anything that involves the hobby in any way.
Wait, did you mean Justin?
I was like, what?
Same thing, right?
I see how it is.
So, like, let's say there's somebody that's really good in photography and they're really good at taking pictures of reptiles and stuff. That'd be someone we'd want to reach out to and, hey, some tips or whatever, just so it's not the same on everything.
Taking good pictures for ads, what's the best backdrops to use? What do you use for lighting? Like just stuff, like I said, anything that can relate to the business or the hobby, just.
And we do, we're trying to do like regular content every issue. So like Justin likes doing a music part. Like he'll highlight an album, say, hey, this is, whenever I'm cleaning cages, I listen to this, and just give someone a different outlook on what they can do while they're interacting with their collection. Book reviews, stuff like that.
Hipster album of the month.
Yeah. And it's just something that when you're putting it on paper, or not exactly on paper, but when it's in print, it just I don't know. It just means so much more than just talking, which sucks because we have a podcast, but we need to talk for 2 hours what you can do on print, like in a very concise manner, very quickly. If that makes any sense. I may be making shit up, probably making shit up. You're looking at me weird.
I'm confused.
Yeah, I don't understand exactly what you're saying.
No idea what you're saying, Joe.
I feel like once it's in a magazine, it's true. Once
it's more,
you
feel like it's more real when it's like written down.
Yeah,
this is all fake. What we're doing right now.
I mean, essentially, yeah.
And that's, I mean, you doing a podcast as well. You kind of know what it's like. Like you want to have people that know what they're talking about. They're not just spouting out information to make themselves feel good. And it's the same way. Like when we have people write, which we don't turn down content. If someone says, hey, I want to send you an article on this, cool. We may not use it immediately. We may just hold on to it and use it for a later issue if we need to. But when I go to people, like the kind of the feature of the next issue is going to be smooth fronted caimans, the Paleosutris trigonatus. Travis de Lagerheim, who does awesome photography and is letting us use some of his photos for covers and stuff. He keeps those and he keeps them the way like they're meant to be kept. He's legit about them. Like he doesn't do aquariums. Like as adults, he gives them a huge space. And so like when I said I wanted a dwarf caiman article, he's the first person I thought of because I know he does those right. And so that's kind of the big thing too, is making sure that the people we have writing and doing these articles are, they have a lot of experience with that species in particular, or they're just one of the best to talk about that particular individual. But if someone was wanting to send us something and, they do have reasonable experience with a species or whatever, like we're not going to turn it down as long as everything's factually accurate and stuff. We don't have any issues with it.
For the first issue, was it hard for you to choose like what to put in? Like, I feel like the
No.
first one you'd want to put in so much because you're just excited.
That's true.
about
Like
it.
you don't want to make it too long,
right,
too
right.
short.
But you're excited about like that it's the first one. You're like, oh, I want to put this.
Yeah.
Billy, what's that experience been like for you, buddy?
I've had to hold on to articles because Justin wanted to put all of them in the first one. Like he wants to make it like huge.
It was 40 pages. I was like, that's not a lot. And then I come to find out everyone thinks that's gigantic. And I'm like, it's 60.
Especially when a normal magazine, it would be filled with half ads. So even though you have some ads in there, you don't have a absorbent amount to where, it extends it to be that long.
Yeah. And then I thought about it and I was like, okay. Like flipping through it, I was like, that's good. Like that can be kind of our roundabout range, like maybe 50 max. If it goes over, it goes under. No big deal. Like I said, we put in whatever's ready at the time, and if we think it's where it needs to be, then we get it out. So,
and the design is like incredibly good as
Thank
far as So what you did as far as sourcing pictures as well as the design, it's like a super inclusive magazine in the way of like, because it breaks the borders as far as like, especially I love that Cayman article where you have, I'm pretty sure I saw it on your Instagram where like the article was in the mouth or a snippet from the article was in the mouth.
Yeah.
I was like, that was badass.
And some of that's tough. Some of it, I'm horrible about being able to make like color schemes and stuff. So I'm kind of navigating that still, but I like posting those little snippets because I hope it kind of piques people's interest. Oh, this is coming out in the next issue. Like I take interesting little parts from the article and I'll make those little snippets with it. And, it keeps Instagram going and there's actually stuff on there for people to read and stuff. So it kind of works out.
Yeah, I guess that kind of goes right into like, how the hell do you get attention to an online magazine?
Footwork on
it seemed like you guys really kind of outdid what you expected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Justin did a great job. Advertising work. Yeah, I don't want to take credit for what I didn't do.
We did some Facebook ad campaigns, but as far as Instagram, like Instagram's a game to me. Like I love building Instagram accounts and seeing how far I can get them and stuff like that. And but yeah, I mean, the first week that we put that first issue out, it hit like 1,300, 1,100, 1,300 reads.
Yeah.
Which was way better than we thought it would be. I was expecting maybe like, I don't know, 100 or 200, whatever. So.
It did way better than I thought it was going to for the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you never know if people are going to be down to read anymore these days with all the other things going on. But it's like, I think we're all kind of craving it at this point to have something more palpable like that because there's an overabundance of information out there. It
is tough because print anything, is on the decline and people's attention spans are about half a second now. And so that was one of the things. I have a coworker at the cigar shop. He's part-time and he's older. He's retired and he's from Chicago and stuff like that. And I was talking to him about it and he's like, 40 pages is huge. People's attention spans just aren't that great anymore. And I was like, well, my thing is it's free. We put it together. People don't have to read it front to back. If there's something in particular they want to read, have at it. Like we just throw it out there and people can do whatever they want with it. It's you either consume it all or you consume parts, whatever. It's just there.
Yeah. And that's a good point is the fact that it's free. So do you plan on doing anything in the future? Like obviously you have a couple ads, but are you trying to monetize it in any other way? Or are you just going to try to do ads and have fun with it?
Billy.
Let me take that one. This is how much how Justin's the brains. Our idea eventually is to get people to buy ad space just to help offset some of the program costs and stuff we have. We're not trying to make money off of it. The whole idea was to make it free so it could get to more people because I know like you're saying, we're craving something like this. I'm always looking for different magazines or publications or something. And something that's always kept me away from ones is, a subscription or, it's $5 an issue or something like that. you're not going to get that information out to people, especially with how information is right at everybody's fingertips now. So the fact that we're keeping it free and doing that, it just takes a little effort on our part. But if we can get some people to, advertise and all that, it'll help out a little bit.
Yeah, we'll start shopping it around eventually. Right now, we just want to get a couple issues under our belt and kind of have some ad design stuff ready to go to show people, and then basically say like, hey, we designed this. This is the rates, whatever. So we're working towards it. It's just like the podcast for me. It's just wherever it takes me is where it goes. I'm pretty much along for the ride. No preconceived notions. I don't want it to, if it ever ends up paying, giving us some extra walking around money, awesome. Like if not, whatever. It's still fun to do. I still really enjoy it. My whole goal with it and the podcast is, leave the hobby in a better place than it was the day before, and just keep getting people out there and species. And I don't know. I love the hobby so much. I just want to help it any way I can.
How many hours would you say total you spent on the first issue?
I mean, not really that many. Fortunately, like we didn't when we did the first issue, we didn't put ourselves on any sort of hard deadline. It was just kind of like, all right, let's aim for like mid-October. If we hit it, we hit it. Because we didn't really know how much information, like how much content we'd get initially. So it was hard to say, okay, like 15th, that's when we're putting it out, even though we had no idea what we had coming or what was actually going to work out. Because that is the issue with magazines, is when you're relying on other people to be timely and get you things when you ask for them. It's not uncommon for people to not do that. So you kind of have to plan around, and that's where having the extra content on hand helps, because you can take that and fill it in if someone would, something happens, stuff happens, people get busy, people have kids, people have families, whatever. I get it. But just having the spare content on hand helps us fill in that gap. But for me, it was mostly, I'd get to work and maybe it'd be slow or something, and I'd work on it for an hour or two a day or so, and nothing really super intense. And I mean, with the second issue, we're actually way ahead of schedule, so it's been really nice, and we want to get ahead, as much as possible, so that every issue, especially with the holidays and stuff coming up, we can just have it ready and put it out when it's time and cruise.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anyone in particular that if you could get them to write an article, I mean, who is anyone you can think of?
My white whale?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really haven't thought about that.
I haven't either.
I feel like it's a little soon to ask that.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a doozy. It's a doozy of a question.
That's this one. Fun Kyle Phillips there asked, when's the swimsuit edition?
That's not going to be until summer.
That's what
Of course.
thinking.
It'll be the one around Daytona.
Yeah, I got to get my bikini ready for beach season.
Yes.
Can we do the bodies issue like ESPN does?
What is that?
Are you going to be in it?
You've never seen the body, all the strong people making strong poses.
Oh, yeah.
They're all naked and they're doing like their sport. We could
They're,
be like
Serena Williams is naked holding like the tennis racket. Like, they're all doing the thing.
Justin's naked with a gaboon viper over his junk.
And a cigar.
Fucking great. And a cigar in his mouth, of course.
Free handling.
Be a cigar and a Baird's rat.
Yeah.
There you go.
You got to do what they're known for.
True.
And under it, it's going to say, "You think you have balls?" And I've just got that gaboon.
Shoot.
Let me show you what a real man looks like. I can free handle a gaboon.
Oh, Kyle's getting shooting some things at
Kyle
me.
Phillips said, "I guess you only need a baby corn snake to cover up."
Man.
True. Accurate.
Like a yearling.
You could get silly. I think like after you get some of the real hard-hitting additions out, then you can get silly with it a little bit.
Yeah, and that goes back to like the language thing. Like Nipper's article was awesome, and then when we started getting some because we were very open about constructive criticism and feedback and stuff like that, and so that was like the biggest thing was the language. You know, I can't show this to kids or can't tell people about it at educational events. And I'm like, well, I mean, if you want the Walt Disney version of a magazine, like, go read Reptiles. And I don't know. It's a balancing act, because I kind of like it to just be like, what we get sent is what we get sent. That's just how that person is, whatever. Like, if you've ever talked to Nipper, that dude's crazy as hell. That's just how he talks. That's how he is. He's British, and he's like ghetto British, and he's like, I don't know how to. Yeah, that's just how he is.
That's kind of that's the charm of the whole article is his tone about it. Yeah, and
he
just
loves Americans.
Yeah, which I guess, I mean, maybe people will get butthurt about that as well, but
I think
gotta have
snakes
fun.
is such an interesting market in that like all the people that are producing it are of age and, you know, available to there might be somewhere a 12-year-old, you know, actually there was, I feel like on Bar Check I saw like years ago there was some really wealthy child who was doing it. Okay, maybe don't bring that up, Melissa. But for the most part, you know, the people who are breeding and putting in the time and who really want to know like all this information and read about like what their fellow breeders are doing are of age. And I feel like that is who, I mean, I would assume that's who you're marketing to, and also our podcast. That's who we're marketing to. And yes, there's also children who get in it and whatever, but
it's very hard. It's a very fine line to walk, because, you know, I'm of the opinion if you try to appeal to everybody, you appeal to nobody. But at the same time, whenever we do have advertisers and stuff, we have to keep them in mind, because I know if I was advertising in something and, you know, there was an article that was not necessarily offensive in like the crazy everyone's offended right now sort of way, but in a way that would, you know, make my business or brand look not great, like I would have an issue with that. So it's kind of trying to keep it. I don't know how to explain it. It's a tightrope, you know.
That's probably the biggest part was when we do start to ask people to advertise, we don't want them to look at it and say, you know, hey, we don't want our company connected to this in any way. You know, besides that, you said people are going to be how they are, but because we just have to think long term, you know. So we plan on doing this for a good little bit. So,
and I mean, it's like to some extent, like the word hell, damn, whatever.
You can say all that on local television right now,
right?
Like, you know, all the local 7:00 shows when kids are still awake. You can say all those.
Yeah.
So it's just. I don't know. It's tricky because you also want to
maybe some insight in why we don't have sponsors on the podcast.
That's part of it. But also we're not trying. But yeah, it's always very interesting. You want to be yourself. You want to be able to be true to who you are.
We've had so many conversations about this like lately about how much of us being held back is kind of like this weird little like punk rock attitude. I don't want to sell out and do like, and, you know, just bend to whatever people want us to be. But also how much do you kind of be yourself, and trying to navigate whatever that line is. Because we try to be like authentic as possible, but you can be authentic and not say like totally offensive things. That's also probably,
well, even, I mean, the difference, I don't know if you've listened to the ChondroCast versus Herpetoculture podcast. Like the ChondroCast, I usually have guys that I have like mad respect for, you know, guys that I'm like, I don't want to screw this up. You know, Jack Vicente was on THP a couple weeks ago. Like that was one where I was like, I told Jake ahead of time, I was like, no bullshit. I was like, we got it. Like, this is legit. Like, this isn't our homies. This is like, it's kind of a big deal. Like, don't screw this up. And the ChondroCast is the same way. I mean, I keep that one fairly cleaner and a little more straight faced. But that's just because normally I don't know the people that well as I do, you know, with THP or whatever. But it's very similar. I'm a big fan of Gary Vee, and he always talks about, you know, just if that's the way you are, that's the way you are. Either people like it or they don't. Whatever. You know, you'll have a fan base, and you'll have people that don't like you, and it's whatever. Like, that's okay. That doesn't bother me. I don't want to change the magazine for the handful of soccer moms that are like, they said the word fuck. I don't want my child reading that, even though they let them listen to like Kendrick Lamar and freaking Wu-Tang Clan. Like, that's completely fine, but they read the word fuck and now it's a big deal. So I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, I understand. And
because I think about it a lot.
Yeah.
Constantly teetering, like, man, should we just say screw it and like let people write whatever they want? That's our only stipulation with articles, is like they can't be talking shit about somebody else. Like they can't be pointing fingers at anybody. Like that's like my hard line. That's my hard limit, is like the moment you start calling somebody out in one of our articles in the magazine is the moment that it's not going to be put in.
Do you send, like, when they agree to write, do you send out like guidelines?
Sort of. Kind of, not really. People ask for like word counts and stuff, and I'm like, that's the nice thing, is like with a digital magazine, we literally have infinite pages. We don't have to worry about paying per page. We don't have to worry about print. We don't have to worry about the cost going up because we have more pages. Like, so I tell people, as long as it's not like 20 pages long, I don't really care. Because we can take shorter articles. We get 1-page articles and we'll turn it into 3 pages in the magazine, just because I like to keep it a little more visual and have more pictures and stuff like that and kind of fill it out and really pretty it up. But we have had some long articles, and it's no big deal. Whatever. Like I said, if people are going to read it, they're going to read it. If not, they'll find something else in there they like.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was just like when you sent me the link, I was like, how long is this supposed to be? I don't know if I'm supposed to totally pontificate on everything and do everything, but I don't know why you're laughing at me.
For your use of pontificate.
What, wasn't it a good one?
Yeah.
It was perfect.
That's a really good word.
You're welcome, everyone listening. You're welcome.
That's a good one.
It's always fun.
Hooked on phonics.
So do you guys, and this is something that I guess I don't think I've really know the answer for either of you guys. Starting with Billy, do you guys want to be full-time eventually? Or are you going to be permanent hobbyist, I guess, in quotes?
Well, Billy saves lives, so he shouldn't stop saving lives.
Talking about like breeding?
Not necessarily, just reptiles in general. However the hell.
Okay.
No, yeah. Just however the hell you can make this thing work.
Yeah.
Make it work.
I got you.
I want to always enjoy it. I feel like a lot of the full-time guys, I listened to your guys' Tinley episode, and you were talking about how the serious guys were, like you have to make this much money, and the whole weekend's a disaster if you don't meet this quota or whatever. I never want to look at my snakes like that. We're doing the magazine. We're doing a free magazine, so obviously we're not seeing dollar signs. We just want to put out content, and just like Justin said, we want to leave the hobby better than we found it. I feel like if I can do that, I'm just as happy staying a hobbyist. My thought on it.
Agreed. Like I said, I mean, I pretty much approach everything relating to the hobby, whether it's breeding or, the magazine. Like, let it, and I just let it take me wherever it's going to take me. And this was a conversation we had last night on THP with Chris at Badlands Herpetoculture. If you go into all these things with no expectations, it makes everything so much easier. If you go in, even a breeding season or something with animals, like if I go in with pairing chondros and I'm like, man, I'm going to get this many babies, it's going to be awesome. I'm a firm believer of announcing your plans is a good way to make God laugh. And so I like to go into everything with just like, I don't know what's going to happen. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, on to the next, whatever. There's always next year. There's always next month. There's always next week. There's always tomorrow, whatever. I don't like to dwell on things too much, except for me and Billy's night in the tent at Carpet Fest.
On the slant.
On the slant. Yeah.
Wait, so who? Okay. Did it get cold at all? Did you have to cuddle for warmth, or?
No, we stayed separated. It was just, we didn't really think about where we were putting the tent. We just wanted to put it up so we could go hang out with people. And we put it like on this slope.
It was on a grade.
Yeah. So we
So
were
you
like
had to-
falling out and stuff.
You had to be perpendicular to the grade, otherwise you'd roll.
So are you guys tent partners for life now? Or did
Always.
you buy your own this year?
He better come to Carpet Fest so I have a place to sleep.
Oh, it was Justin's tent.
Yeah, well, no, we got rid of
Oh,
that tent.
take
'Cause that tent was a freaking nightmare. So we ditched that tent. That tent is in the trash now.
So who's
It was like the
buying?
worst design ever. Like there was this giant spiral thing in the middle with a huge spring, and you were supposed to just like press a button, and it was supposed to just pop up, and it didn't. And it took me and Billy and Jake like an hour to get this bitch set up, and then to break it down, it wouldn't fit back in the bag, and so it just. I brought it back to my parents' house. It was my dad's tent. I brought it back to him. He's like, "This thing's horrible." I was like, "Yeah." He threw it away. Like,
Are tents ever as easy as the movies make it look? I feel like everyone struggles for a little bit.
There's always like that guy who is a Boy Scout that you go camping with, and he fucking clears the leaves out, and he just pops it up like no one's business, and he folds it all back perfect, and you're like, you fucking dweeb. Yeah. No one else can do that shit.
Yeah, that wasn't us. That definitely wasn't us.
Cox said, "I can't quit you, Billy. I wish I could quit you."
Oh, yeah.
But
So
nothing
Billy-
weird happened, just so everyone knows.
Oh, plenty of weird things
clearly
happened.
weird
Let's
things
be
happened.
honest.
Nothing happened.
Carpet Fest is
You went
the
to a snake
definition of
party.
weird thing.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing between me and Billy. It's not like it's a joke.
Yeah, there was stuff that happened, but it wasn't with me and Justin.
Yeah,
And you're
Jake
just-
had a good time.
Jake had a very good time.
Well,
Everyone in the county of Melrose, Florida knows Jake had a good time.
I feel bad asking without Jake having representation here.
This will be
But-
after. You're definitely gonna message Jake after.
Although I
this.
feel like with Justin here, Jake was gonna like pop up somewhere in the background, but I'm kind of disappointed that he's not.
Sitting
No,
here
he's
in the corner.
home somewhere. I was so busy today. I forgot to tell him that this was even happening. So
Ouch.
I didn't tell him either.
Are you leaving, Jake?
I actually talked to him all day.
no,
Yeah, that
I'm not.
is the real question.
Dream
Yeah,
team.
how are you gonna balance your time between Billy and Jake now?
I'll make it happen. You make time for the people you love.
He just fits me and Jake in. It's really the Conjure cast that he cares about.
Yeah, the podcast I haven't done an episode on in like 2 months. I knew from day one that was going to be the one that was going to get sidelined if anything came up. And I was like, that's the one that's going to get tucked.
Yeah, I think
it's
we've
harder
had
by yourself.
we've also had those bursts of inspiration through the podcast, and then you sprint, and then you realize that you can't sprint forever.
Yeah, like right now, I'm like, we got one more set. We need one more podcast set. We need to message a bunch of people and decide like what direction we're going.
You guys actually have a plan when you do yours? Me and Jake are just like, message this person, see if he'll come on. Okay, cool. What time?
Well, yeah, I mean, we do it ahead of time.
We go through like phases. We're like, okay, let's get a bunch of like field herpers, and like, oh wait, no, like let's go back to some hobbyists, and then oh wait, let's get some like people related to education. Like we kind of go in and out of that.
We don't have a lane, which is probably not what you're supposed to do.
No, I think
Just do it all.
it's good to keep it different. I think
It's good
Yeah,
for
we try to mix it up. It's tough. It'll be like a Tuesday. We record on Thursdays, and we'll be like, "Do we have anybody this week?" And Jake's like, "No."
and then
Okay.
Billy comes on.
And then they
What do we
call
want
me,
to do?
yeah.
Yeah, Billy's our designated hitter.
yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely have that. Riley's been our person a lot.
Riley,
People,
Evan,
yeah.
Ryan Cox, a bunch of different people. So, I mean, but we've never had Billy on. So I guess just give a short overview of what you work with, Billy, because there's a shit ton of animals right behind you.
Yeah, on the one wall. So I work with carpets primarily. Then I have green trees. I'm big into maclots now. Maclets, sorry.
No, the first one was appropriate.
Maclets.
Yeah, there we go. Besides that, I have some Antaresia stuff that I'm dabbling in. And then old world rat snakes. beauty snakes. I got Chinese beauties. We talked about those in Tinley.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to sell you on them. Seems like you weren't having it.
No part of them.
Radiated rats.
I completely
Cage
forgot
on
that we
that.
went to Tinley.
It was awesome, man. It was a good time. I'm actually
you
about to
passed out
get.
so many of those feeder sheets, you know? Or not?
Oh yeah. Yeah, everybody had some.
These things are awesome.
Justin's following us everywhere. And you know, Ian saw it and he was like, or no, who was it? Was Ian, right?
He's like, this looks familiar. And it's like, yeah. It's your thing.
Yeah, I guess he had that design for his feeding cards.
Yeah, that was originally made by like some friend of John Irby, and then I got them from Luke, and then I was like, you know what? These are so cool. Like, let's just ghost a THP logo on them and give them out. Like, I didn't sell them or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, they're great. Like, I love that card stock. They're perfect. Like, I get them wet all the time, and they hold up. You know, just handy.
It was an old green tree hand-me-down from
Luke Myers.
There it is.
Hey, that's the one from the green tree I sent you, right?
Yep.
So do you hand write down all of your feeding for every animal?
Me?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. You see how many snakes I have?
Well, you pulled up
No
the
way.
paper like you did it, and I was like, "There's
No, it's because he got
way.
the animal from Justin.
Oh,
Yeah, I sent him that card with the
If
snake.
you look, it's all Justin. I
Yeah, I
haven't
got
done
the serial
anything.
killer handwriting.
hasn't stopped or hasn't started since you got it.
My handwriting hasn't changed since the 5th grade, dude.
And what were those abbreviations?
Oh no.
Like
I don't-
AFMT?
You even know? Did I even tell you what those are? AFMT
No.
is a 6-speed mouse tail. LP is a live pinky. The plus C, when I score the pinky, like that article you posted forever ago on cutting pinkies for growth, that plus C is when I cut a pinky. What else we got in there? Shed means it's shed. In case anybody was wondering. But AFMT is when I assist fed mouse tail. So you can see I had a hell of a time with those little bastards for the first like
Problem child. I like the problem child written on there.
Yeah, that's why his survived and my clutch didn't.
Yeah, because you went through all the fucking steps. So and that was your green tree clutch that you just had?
No, this is a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
But he has those Jagpondros.
Yeah, those
How many
ate a
of
lot better.
Yeah, not surprising.
And you were telling me at Tinley that you went opposite, right? You went carpet male with green tree female?
Yeah. Usually it's a carpet female because people are worried that the male carpet is going to make big eggs come out of the green tree female, which is kind of ridiculous because
How does that work?
It's people, man.
It
They think the green tree is going to produce big carpet eggs, and they're not going to produce eggs that they already have. You know, they're going to produce anyway. But there was no issues. They were the size of green trees when they came out. But
Or at the very least, I mean, you would want to avoid the more vulnerable species, which is like the green tree eggs are typically harder to incubate than carpet eggs, and then also tiny little carpets or tiny little green trees are probably harder.
I honestly think people kind of talk a bit on how delicate they think green trees are and the eggs and everything. I go through, I think was it the first show I did with you, Justin? I went through the story of those and how I screwed the eggs up a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And they all still hatched. I think, too, me being here in Florida, my natural climate is perfect for green trees. If it's someone that's like, you know, up north or in the Midwest or something, they have to worry about things I never have to worry about. I don't worry about humidity. I don't worry about, you know, I keep my green trees at my ambient temp in my room. And I've done that for 5-6 years now. And my females produce 2 viable clutches for me. She maternally incubated the first one. So I really don't think they're as delicate as people make them out to be. I think people screw with them too much. And if you screw with something too much, it's going to, you know, you keep poking your finger at it, it's going to stress it out and then bad things happen. That's my little spiel anyway.
Were
People
both of
care
those
them-
pairings with carpet pythons?
No, the first one was tree, and I got 17 eggs, 14 hatched, 3 died full term in the egg, and I couldn't get any of them to eat. I didn't know, and when I reached out to certain people, they were just like, just keep trying, man. They wouldn't tell me any tips or anything. So, or they're like, hey, you can send them to me and I'll get them eating and I'll take half the clutch. I'm like, screw off, man. I'm not doing that.
Wow.
I had someone offer that to me. They're like, oh, they're not eating for you? Send the whole clutch to me and then I'll keep half and send you half of yours back.
No,
Like,
thanks.
that's not a good deal.
I'll extend that deal to anyone listening. Just send me half of your or all of your babies. I'll get them eating, and then I'll keep half of them. Sound like
it was when I was still like, I guess you could say new on the scene. I guess. So I guess they're just thinking, oh, I could just get some free snakes from him. He doesn't know any better. Like, no, I'm not doing that. But.
There are, I mean, in green trees especially, there are there's not. It's not uncommon to have somebody kind of not necessarily poach like the new first-time breeders, but they definitely are like, yeah, send them to me. I'll get it squared away, no problem.
I had carpet guys do that to me too.
Oh, really?
Apparently, I just look like I'm going to give people whole clutches of snakes.
You just have kind eyes. That's all.
Nice.
I have kind eyes.
Yeah. You just look so innocent and sad. They're like, man, this guy can't get his snakes eating. I should take all of them and keep half.
That'll make him happy. Let's do that.
I know what'll make you feel better. Let me rip you off.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. Did that steer you away from doing your second pairing green tree to green tree, or were you just getting funky with it?
That's actually that's really funny. I was actually gun shy on trying it again, so I just threw a carpet in there, and that happened.
I'll make this easier on myself. Let me put an animal in there that's not going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, but
and it seems like that strategy worked, though, didn't it?
I did everything possible wrong with that whole situation, and yeah, Justin knows. I did everything wrong, and I still got babies to hatch. Like if I ever do something like that with a clutch again, they'll never hatch. It was just I was stupid. I just got really lucky.
I guess we'll start with Justin. What is your general collection size like?
Somewhere around 40, I think. I don't even count anymore. I don't know. I know that it's a lot to move because I moved it all today. It wasn't until I moved that I was like, God, I have so much stuff. A lot. Yeah.
And how was, well, I guess we'll go to Billy, and then I want to pontificate about your new snake.
Okay.
Oh, we hit it again. Pontificate.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry. That's my new word.
Change
I
up.
like it.
I like it. Say
Use it every sentence.
So, can you pontificate about your collection size? Make sure you pontificate.
I'm going to assume that means tell you how many snakes I have.
Means pontificate.
Including babies? Are we including babies?
No one counts those, right?
No one counts babies. Then
He's got a lot. I've seen it. He's got an awesome room with.
I'm probably around 75 or so.
Okay.
I'm definitely over 100 with babies. Yeah, I went a little crazy the past couple years.
So what was your first? Like, what did you start with? Just the carpets?
My very first snake was actually a cow king. I was scared of snakes when I got my first snake. Terrible experience.
One of the
it was a cow king, and I wasn't ready for it. And a couple years later, I ended up getting an IJ or Papuan carpet, and that was a really good experience. And obviously, you see what happened. Now I have a whole room full of them. But I want everything. That's my problem. I can't be happy with what I have. I always want something else. So at some point I'll hit a ceiling.
That's the problem. There's always something else,
Well, this weekend I'm vending with or I'm gonna have Jason Hood next to me again. And you guessed it, I'm gonna get a pair of those bird eating snakes because those things are just awesome, So I just can't stop. I have a problem.
We got to. Oh wait, no, we didn't. I was about to say we got to experience that this weekend, but that was it.
Not at all.
Was that what was the one that was hiding? The egg eater?
Yeah, it's a totally different snake. But
never mind.
Billy's
Egg eaters look like fun though.
Like those crazy colored snakes that Jason had at his table.
Yeah, the Pasillinotus, he had the adults in the tower.
I already forgot.
Just put in Pillonotus or whatever the hell Billy just said in the Google.
Pillonotus.
Pistolotus.
Pillonotus. Pontifinotus.
You could probably put, no, that's not working at all.
Cool.
Birding snake?
Neotropical bird-eating snake.
Neotropical bird-eating snake.
Talk while I'm typing.
So, I mean, that is a big semi-arboreal species, right? Or is it completely arboreal?
They're mostly arboreal, but they'll do everything. Probably could say semi-arboreal.
Yeah, I think they're a lot like Boiga. They'll if you give them the space, they'll use it.
I don't know. Yeah. Every single picture I have or that we're pulling up on Google is like in straight up defense posture, about to leap at your face.
Yeah.
They're actually the ones that Jason has. They're a few generations captive bred, and they're actually really chill. They're just a little cage defensive, but I was handling the adults and the babies, and they didn't puff up or anything. But those aren't the pretty ones. They come in a lot of different colors. They're one of the most variable snakes out there.
It's showing me all the same ones.
They go through like 4 different color changes.
Oh shit.
Babies, they look like eyelash vipers, like the brown phase. And then
they do.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, they're perfect mimics as far as that. And then what they end up doing is they change 3 or 4 times in their lifetime.
Whoa.
But what I want to do is I want to take pictures of them every month and kind of track the change that they go through. Because nobody's ever done that. We were talking about that on the drive back from Tinley. And I think it'd be a cool project to just have and see if there's any markers or anything that, this color will come if this happens or whatever.
Yeah, it must be one of those animals where you don't know exactly what you're getting into when you get the baby, as far as they don't have much coloration as babies, and then they...
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can see what the parents are and stuff, but I think they're very similar in that aspect to Amazon tree boas. Like you said, you don't know what you're going to get, pretty much. And they're always changing. Like I saw some of his adults, some of the ones that were solid red, as they got older, like they started getting yellow or gray in the red. Like they're just always changing. So definitely a different snake you don't see all the time. So I'm excited to work with them.
Yeah. Do they eat rodents readily?
Yeah. You kind of have to tease feed them to get them going. But once they get going, they're animals. They don't stop.
Yeah. And what else, as far as, well, I wanted to ask Justin a question.
Well, I want to ask Justin, since you started the podcast, how much has your collection grown?
I mean, not that much.
Okay.
I'm focused on chondros mostly, but I have the Bairds, I have the Brettles. I stole some of my dad's Alterna.
Baird's king of the South.
Baird-eyed king of the South.
That's it.
I love Bairds, man. Like, no one knows what they're missing out on. People see them at shows. They see them on tables. They're just little gray rat snakes. People are like, oh, it's just a gray rat snake. Whatever. I know what the secret is. So anytime I see them at a show, I snatch those suckers up because they're cheap and they're easy and they're fun. And then they grow up to be awesome. And everyone's like, wow, what is that? And I'm like, it's a Baird's rat snake. I've never heard of that. And I'm like, how? They're awesome. No one's doing anything with them. And I don't know why, because they're freaking sweet.
Because if you bring a dozen babies to a show, you'll sell 0 of them. I think that's the issue, is that no one
More for me.
No one can trust the fact that it's going to turn into a beautiful animal.
Yeah,
I bring one of those. I bring those Loma Altas. I guarantee you they start selling.
I just don't like them as babies.
It's the same way with Japanese rat snakes. They're the same way.
Yeah. Those aren't all that attractive as youngsters.
Then again, I mean, you have that somewhat in carpets as well, of course.
Very much so. Nobody wanted my jungles when they were hatchlings. Absolutely nobody. Then they started coloring up, and people were like, "Oh, I didn't see those last year." I'm like, they were there, but they don't trust you that they're going to turn into whatever.
Yeah, that's what kind of sucks. I mean, those ball python people got it made as far as they come out looking as good as they ever do.
But to me, I love that though. I love species. Especially that's one of the main appeals for me for chondros is even the best guys that have been in chondros for 30 years can't tell you what a baby is going to look like as an adult.
But I think chondros it's easier because they still come out gorgeous.
Right. But the playing field's completely level. Like no one has any sort of like, there's not some secret formula where like with ball pythons where they're like, okay, I know if I pair this with this, I'm going to get this. Like with these, it's like you compare two normal average looking green trees. There's no such thing as an ugly green tree, but you compare two completely normal chondros and get something awesome. You compare two really high end, nice designer animals and get nothing that's great. So it's just, I don't know. I kind of like that. And I like that about Bairds too. One of the Bairds that I got at Daytona from Travis Wisely, that one's already starting to color up and looking really good. I had a few that I bought from Fleming Reptiles, and one of those has gone like the complete opposite direction that I thought I was going to, and it's looking awesome. So I love watching the change, and I like buying them young when I have no idea what they're going to turn out to be and seeing what happens. I enjoy that. I like not knowing.
Yeah, I saw you post that animal not too long ago on Instagram. It may have been just a couple of days ago, that bear eye that you posted. And yeah, man, they're coloring up, and it will be awesome to see. I mean, obviously, you got oranges coming in on that animal. You're not going to be messing with one of the metallic black ones or gray ones.
And Bairds or Brettles to an extent are kind of the same way. Like I really like dark, high black Brettles. And I kind of like not knowing where they're going to go either. So I don't.
I think the good thing with messing with animals that start out dull and then they turn into attractive adults is that you end up getting people that they're going to buy from you that know what they're getting into. You're not, people aren't going to do an impulse buy on one of those.
That's for sure.
That's a plus in my book.
Yeah, but what's the percentage of those people that are out there at shows doing that?
It's the gamble you take.
Yeah.
And you have the internet, so.
Because that's what's sucking. As many people as many animals as we think are really cool, like we can bring a pair of gray rats to a show and 0 people care at all, which I understand. It's a gray snake. But it's like, oh yeah, this is why people aren't working with them enough, is simply because there's just not much demand for them. But
they're still pretty animals. Like the white oaks or what is it? The white oaks, I really like those a lot. I appreciate natural. That's one of the reasons I love Brettles so much, is like naturally Brettles are gorgeous snakes. So you don't need morphs. Wild caught corns, like natural, just Abbott line, Oketees. Like I'll take that over any morph any day. We don't appreciate normalcy really with some stuff anymore.
When I was in Daytona, I brought my female adult Japanese rat snake, and I was like, if I sell enough, I'll put her on the table, whatever. I pulled her out of the bag. She didn't even touch my table. Someone was just at the table, saw her, scooped her up right away.
Wow.
They were just that.
Her.
Yeah, it was literally 5 minutes and she was gone. I was boxing her up and that was it. But there's tons of babies everywhere, but nobody wanted them because they're not that green and blue that they usually are as adults.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I appreciate the stuff that's kind of off the beaten path that people just don't appreciate enough, like Bairds. I think we're kind of on the cusp of the hobby diversifying more, and people are kind of not necessarily jumping ship on balls because they'll never go away. But I think people are now kind of starting to be like, hey, there's other species in this hobby that are really cool. I'm going to start looking into them.
look at all the large colubrids that have gained popularity in the
Mhm.
last few years. Most people had no idea those were even, snakes until a few years ago. So
Yeah, I mean,
definitely going in the right direction.
to like a black milk snake now. I mean, people love black milk snakes. They're like things that people didn't give two shits about not too long ago. So it's really nice to see that happening. And also, I feel like we have a bunch of people who I know Justin through the podcast, like we have more content talking about these species. And therefore, it's almost like we're trying to get people to like our snakes that no one else likes because we're into cool, weird things. But we
Well, that's how
want
you expose people.
Yeah,
That's how you expose people so they actually know they're even out
that's
there.
the whole point. Talking about bears all the time. I've had a few people on Instagram message me. They're like, I never kept bears, and then you started talking about them, and I got some, and now I love them. Like, they're great snakes. And that's like, I'm not trying to convert anybody, but it's like, hey, this is a species not a lot of people are doing anything with that I think deserve attention, and you should look into because they're awesome for these reasons. And it's nice to know that there's people out there that are actually giving stuff a shot, and kind of expanding
And I think it's just there's always so much more to learn with snakes. I mean, I'm definitely still on the like bare minimum of my knowledge, but like even
me
things
too, though.
no. Even things I thought I knew about, like over the weekend we stopped at our friend Travis Weinman's house and we were talking about blackheads, which I'm like, I always tell people how much I love blackheads. I'm like, I want one. And I felt like, oh, like I kind of know my stuff about it. And then I learned there was 2 types of blackheads that I'd never heard of.
Oh, you didn't even know Eastern or
Didn't
Western?
even-
or you're talking
or
about the
the
morphs?
tiger.
Yeah.
The
I didn't know
tiger.
that.
I'd never even heard of the tiger blackhead. I'd never seen it on anyone's table or anyone's Instagram. Like, didn't really know it was a thing. And it's like, oh wait, do I like that? There's always, even when you think you know about this one specific
There's
type
some
of
line
snake,
of the snake
there's some
that you don't
other
even
one
know.
that you don't even know about. And the tiger blackheads are completely different.
Billy's
Yep.
Peterson coastals are a prime example of that. I didn't even know that was a thing until I saw his.
What are
No
those?
one knows what Peterson coastals are. But Billy's got a few of them, and they're awesome.
Let's go, Billy. Explain that.
Yeah.
The Peterson stuff? All right. So I really like striped snakes.
He has a problem. He really does. He's got a problem.
Yeah, every subspecies I have some type of stripe project going on. So the Peterson stripe stuff, there was a breeder maybe 15 years ago or so. Shea Peterson was his name. He got a pair of animals from Dan O'Leary, DM Exotics, before he started importing as much as he does today. And he basically just selectively bred these striped coastals until he got a look that, he kept reproducing. So it was pretty much, as far as striped coastals go, you had your Balin tigers, your Russian tigers, and your Peterson striped animals, and they were all different from each other. Well, Shea got out of it, and I ended up buying a female from him because honestly, it was cheaper than the Balin tigers I liked, and able to drop that kind of money. But when he got out of it, he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, I have this adult male. Do you want him too? Because I bought a female before." Little did I know, when he got out of it, it ended up just being me and Eric Burke that had adult pairs of this line. So I bred them in 2018, 14 eggs, 10 died, and I ended up with 4 babies, and they're 2 pairs, so I got lucky. So I'm raising those up right now, and I'm just really excited. It's a real old school line that nobody sees anymore, and like I have them paired up right now. I'm hoping it goes well, because I just want to be able to put them out there more. And a lot of people don't even realize what they are. Like Justin was saying, they're really cool animals, And I have one that's his dorsal stripe is super clean, no speckling or anything. I have another one that has a lot of speckling. Different routes I can go with that. If I want to go clean or speckled or go both routes, who knows? But it's definitely a project I'm excited to have, and it's cool seeing people get excited about them. It's like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. It's like, yeah, they are. There's a lot of guys don't know the history.
I hadn't heard about him or even known about him until we came to your house and saw him.
Yeah, Jake saw them in Daytona, and he really liked them. They're cool.
And is that line? I mean, obviously you only have 2 visuals, but Do you know if it's line bred or is it passed on genetically?
It's polygenic. It's just like all striping in carpets. It's not incomplete dominant. It's not recessive. You have to breed more stripes to get better stripes. There's no inheritance, per se.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, that was a bad way to say it because genes obviously still play a role because the mom and the dad are breeding together. But yeah, like incomplete dominant.
Yeah, it's not like an albino, or it's not like striping in bredli. It's not recessive or anything.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so many lines like that in carvers in particular, man. It'll make your head spin.
Yeah, all the jungle lines that are all the same, all come from the same animals. Yeah, I always laugh at that.
It's crazy how far carpets have come, though, just in the morphs and stuff. Watching them over the years just explode has just been really interesting.
But
what's even better is seeing
still holding on to the line.
Yeah, well, it's even better seeing people interest in the wild type stuff again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just look at IJs.
Yeah,
IJs they're blowing up. People are finally starting to realize.
Trash carpet.
Not anymore, man. Everyone's
used to get those for nothing. Everyone's like, whatever. It's an IJ. They're ugly. Now they're like, it's insane how many people are focusing on those now.
Well, when I first kind of learned about carpet pythons, IJs were hot, and then they were definitely not, and then they're hot again. So it's like,
hey Joe, what did you call them in Tinley when you were talking to me?
Oh, crappets?
Dirt snakes? Crappet dirt snakes? Yeah.
Now, IJs, I think, have the most potential as far as you can get reds, yellows.
So much variation, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of subtle variation for like someone who is into the finer things in life. You're carpet snobs. You guys have such an eye for detail that most people wouldn't appreciate in comparison to so many different things. That's like, you guys have so many different looks and so many different lines and things like that. And like, just talking, to someone like Eric and seeing his collection, you can't help but at least respect how much you guys enjoy what is seemingly so subtle to everyone else. It's an IJ carpet, but you guys see so much more than that.
All of our dinker projects.
The thing is, like, people are going all different directions with IJs too, because you'll see, I love the animals that Jake's putting out. I mean, that clutch that he had this year just had some amazing animals. And then there's some people who has that like ocelot thing. There's some. Oh, it was you, right? You showed me a picture of it.
Yeah, that's me, Joe.
Are we not supposed to talk about that?
No, it's fine.
Like
I don't even know anything about this. What is it? What do you got? What do you got?
You saw him. I'll have to send you guys the picture. He's a striped. Yeah, you saw him in person. He was one of the ones that was paired up with a female.
Yeah. I remember now.
Yeah. So seeing how he turns out, because he wasn't a good breeder for me last year, so hopefully this year he changes that up. But I could probably do 3 or 4 projects off of him, depending on what he passes on to his offspring. So time will tell.
Has he had a clutch yet?
No, not yet. He's 3 or 4 now, so he's right at breeding. He's a mouser, so he's smaller. Of course, the cool, pretty ones are going to be mousers. Yeah,
that's how it works.
Yeah.
I am excited to see what Jake does, though, in the next couple of years. Especially this next season. He really knocked it out of the park with that first batch. I'm anxious to see what else he does. He's got some really nice animals.
That he gave me the striped one.
Yeah,
he gave me the striped one from that clutch, and I'm really excited about her. She's gonna do.
I've got a pair now myself too, right, Billy?
Not on air, Justin. We're not going to talk about that on air.
Secrets are no fun.
No, but Riley did send me a little male hatchling. He's like, this thing won't eat if you're willing to give it a shot. Have at it. And I got it. It ate within like 4 hours of being here. No hesitation. I was like, dude, you told me the thing was defective and it's fine. Riley's like, son of a bitch.
Well, now you got to keep half of it and give him the other half. That's how this works.
I've got a
Yeah.
female that came from Brian Fisher. That was an import, and I like it so much. But I also told Billy that he could have her, but she's awesome. So I don't know.
I have a male that is perfect for this female, and like absolutely perfect. It could be, yeah. But he has a male now, so we'll see how that goes.
I did like the Indian giver thing where I was like, yeah, Billy, I don't know. I don't really have any need for her. And then I like got her and I was like, oh man, she's really nice. She's really mellow. She's
That's
really
an
cool.
expression I don't know, but I feel like I should look it up.
What?
The Indian giver thing?
Oh, you never heard that before?
No.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It's probably
Is it
not
the
PC
same
the same
people?
anymore.
Native American giver, sir.
I'm gonna look it up. And
It's like when you give
I'm gonna
something,
tell
you
you.
take it back, right?
that's what I assume.
When you tell your buddy he can have this carpet python, and then you say like, I actually think I'm going to keep it.
Okay.
So now I'm gonna have to give my male to Justin so that the pairing happens some way.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a waste of a female if you don't have a perfect male companion.
She's still small. She's still young. She's got another like 2 years before she'll even be ready.
So you guys are planning out way too ahead.
Yeah, Billy's getting ahead of himself.
I have pairings planned out for the next like 2-3 years.
Whoa.
I'm constantly thinking about this stuff.
And you guys must be pairing now, Python guys.
I am.
Not me.
Close to it.
Not
I've already
yet.
had locks, multiple locks.
Jeez.
Is that just your, I guess, all you have Python-wise really carpets Antaresia or Antaresia up to size?
I have one pair. I have one pair that I'm pairing up. I have a granite spotted female and a striped male that I put together to see. They're all first-time breeders, so we'll see what happens.
Nice.
Justin, now that you're in the new place, like, are you going to do things different? Kind of keep it the same?
No, pretty much business as usual. I got that male chondro from Evan last week. Really excited about that one because I sent out to get him tested and stuff, and he's in quarantine right now. But if he clears everything, he's going to go in with my big girl. Probably come. I think his 90 days will be up mid-January, maybe. So I'm really anxious to see. I'm gonna try and put some size on him too between now and then. Get him because that female's pretty big, and I'm kind of mortified that if she gets excited and thinks he sees food and she bites him, that there's going to be some pretty serious damage. So trying to get him prepped and ready because that'll be a really interesting pairing. I've had my eye on that male from Evan for months. Like that's literally, including all the designer stuff that's out there, like that snake, even though it's undocumented, is one of my favorite green trees that's been in collections. And I was amazed no one had bought it yet. Because he's like, dude, no one wants it. I'm like, they're out of their minds. So when I hit him up and he still had it for sale, like he had just posted again on Instagram, I messaged him. I was like, I want it. Like it hasn't sold yet, so that's a sign that I'm supposed to have it.
Is that still changing or is that complete?
No, I think he's 3 years old. So
because that's a kill. That has
a
shit ton of yellow and blue. Like I feel like I never really see a lot of high yellows with blue.
He's really wild, man. I love it.
So Evan,
he's
what the hell were you thinking?
He's gonna get hella laid here all the time.
Sick. So, do you have other green tree pairings going on this season? Or?
No, that big female is the only one that's ready. I have another small Biak girl, but she won't be ready for probably another 2 years if I had to guess. And then I have all the small stuff that I'm growing up that'll be ready in the next 4. But,
the slow game of snakes.
No, but that's the way I like it. Like I want to take my time doing these things. I like taking the slow boat. I tell people all the time, like, I have the rest of my life to do this. I'm in no hurry whatsoever. When it happens, it happens. Just got to enjoy it. You can't be in a rush to make more. And, I feel like with social media, a lot of people they want to pair and they want to breed, because everyone else is doing it. And it's like, it sucks seeing everyone else pairing their snakes because it's like, man, I'm anxious to pair again. Like I'm anxious to do it again for the second time and do better than I did the first time. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to rush it. It's just when you rush, I think you're setting yourself up for some frustration.
Yeah.
Especially in contracts.
Yeah, we're just getting ready to put everyone to sleep.
I'm already excited
Forever.
again for next year. It's like, wait, we just finished last year and we're already talking about brumation and everything.
It's
again.
crazy. It all comes together, man. There's not really an off season like there is.
Well, there is when you.
But if you produce enough,
that's what I say. If you produce enough, there's
then
not
there's
as much of
never
an off season.
I feel like, we're probably pretty similar to the size that Billy's at right now. And I'm sure he, that's kind of a big, once you go like 100 plus animals, even 40 animals, I mean, it's such a different game than just a couple.
I don't think we're at 100 plus with that. We're not. When I can't talk. When we subtract babies, we're not.
Yeah, no.
But babies are a lot of our efforts.
Yeah. So Billy, how many pairings you got going this year?
Oof, I can potentially do 16.
Good God.
I'm not going to do that many because that's just a lot of babies. Probably realistically going to do 7 or 8, maybe 9. Depends on how things go and how many locks I see and interest and stuff.
See, my new strategy is I'm going to have 2 like hatchling racks, and I'm only going to produce what can fill those up. I'm not going to do any more.
Ooh.
That's gonna make me a little more picky and choosy about what I pair that year, because I don't want to pair the same things every year. Like I'm going to pair the Bairds, my adult pair of Bairds for the first time come spring, and repair those green trees. And I'm not going to have anything else ready because the bred will still have a couple years to go. My hog noses probably have another year, at least the female does. And then my corns, I have 2 female corns. I have the locally wild caught Beaufort Locality. I have another one. I haven't sexed it yet that we got a couple of weeks ago that was found under the house. Hopefully that's male. I hope it's a male.
Hey, you see that?
That's nice when you can just pick them off under your house.
Yeah. So stuff in the works. It'll just be a while before I'm kind of at full speed ahead, But
yeah,
for the time being,
Justin has a lot more willpower than I do.
It's hard. Well, I learned that lesson with cresteds because my last year breeding cresteds, I was like, I'm only going to breed like 2 pairs. I don't want to go crazy. I ended up pairing like everything, and then I ended up paying for it because I had so many babies. I was like, this was a horrible idea.
Yeah, I think we all find our limit eventually.
And that's one of those things like people will tell you all the time, don't pair too much because you're going to get stuck with babies. And you're like, yeah. I'm going to do it anyways. It's until like you learn that firsthand that you realize like, yeah, that's a bad.
Talk to me in a year and then I'll tell you how bad of an idea it was.
How many did you pair last year?
I did 5 pairings and 3 went.
Yeah, so I mean that's not bad. And I like cresteds are going to be completely different from snakes, obviously, because cresteds require feeding much more regularly than snakes do. But at the same time, space is limited. Got to kind of pick and choose your battles. And
yeah,
I like kind of doing like, okay, I'm only going to pair these bears this year, and then they won't be available again until the following year. It kind of, I don't know. I like changing it up. I like taking my time.
Yeah, that's a healthy mindset to have, but I'm ashamed to say that I don't think I have it. I just I don't know. I like to give everything a go. Not every single season, but I don't know. I'd have a hard time restraining myself.
Oh, there's no way. No, we're already like, oh, if we're not going to breed it, what are we doing with it?
Yeah, and that's what I feel like a lot of the hobby's at now. Like people, and I fall into this, this category. I think everybody does. It's like, wait, you only have one? You're not going to breed it? Like it just exists? Like you just have it? Like it's now weird to just have a collection and enjoy them as pets.
Yeah.
But I enjoy them so much. I want them to reproduce.
I want them to make more. And
I want them to show me
right
what
now.
they can do.
It's just, I think we're at a point in some projects where it's like, you really want to further the project and all that thing. I guess it's one thing if like you asked me about the Eastern Black King snakes And I was like, there's not really a project direction with that. You're going to get wild type black snakes. So like, that's why I probably wouldn't feel bad, skipping a year on that. But some of those animals that have, so many 4 different hets that I've been trying to make for, 4 years, then yeah, for those I'm getting impatient.
And that's pretty much what the Western hogs are for me, because I just have a pair of normals. Like, I don't see normal Western hogs available anywhere. And when I do, they're like $100. I'm like, there was someone at the Columbia show 2 years ago selling babies for $30 a piece, and they flew.
Yeah.
I was like, no one's breeding normal hogs, like normal Western hogs. Not everybody wants, a $300 Arctic or whatever the hell they are. Like, I don't even keep up with morphs. Some people just want a normal Western hog, and so I just want to produce normal Western hogs. That's a simple project. It's easy to do. It's just something to do on the side. And it's the same with the corn snakes. That's just a little side project.
There's a really expensive project in Hognose called Sable. I'm sure you've probably seen
Yeah,
them.
I've seen
It
those.
just makes it uglier. So it's
I
worth
don't mind. Like, I like the darker look to them, but
it's worth like $1,000 more.
Yeah, I just normal Western hogs. Something that's simple. I really like. I was talking to somebody about this. I was talking to Chris at Badlands Herpetoculture today on Instagram about it. I was like, I like the projects that are really challenging, but I also really appreciate the really simple, like no stress, no drama, easy projects that aren't anything just super stressful. I like having a little bit of both stuff that I'm like, man, this is going to be tough. And then the ones that are like, these will be a breeze, I'll enjoy it. So,
yeah, for sure.
I like to have a little bit of both.
And we had a good question from Kate in the chat. So how did you guys decide which direction to go when you first started out? I mean, you're starting with babies. How did you decide which babies / genetics to get, looking to your future pairings?
Billy just likes stripes.
Striped, yeah.
If it's striped, I'll take it.
I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to just what our eye likes. I think
we're a bad example because we haven't thought it out as much as say, because I've been listening or watching like so many ball python people and stuff, and their decision-making process is like an actual process. For us, we're like, yeah, let's pick that shit up. I like that. Yeah, let's breed it together.
It's not how we talk or how any of our conversations go, but okay.
I think a lot of people, they don't look long-term when they're getting an animal. They say, like I've seen this with a lot of local ball python guys here. Let's say they want to do, I don't know, a black pastel yellow belly or something.
What the hell's that?
Yeah, right. So they just say, hey, I need a yellow belly and I need a black pastel. And they go out and they find the cheapest of each one. And they say, okay, I'll breed them together and then I get what I want. But you have to think about, long-term selective breeding, even when you're doing morph projects. There's people that have done that, and then there's people that haven't done that. How many times have you seen a mutation of a certain animal and it wasn't as nice as the next guy's because the next guy took, a couple extra years to get the right stock? You get what you put into it. So you have to think about that too. So like me, it's easy because I like stripes. So if I see a nice stripe, I'm like, hey, that'll go well with this project, then I know to get that animal. And when I was starting, that's what I was doing. I was getting animals I wanted to build on and make them better. That was my thought process.
Yeah, and kind of to that point, I realized something that was kind of more important than I thought it was in the beginning is who you actually get them from. So, I mean, most of our stock originates from Don Soderberg and VMS Herp. And when people see that, they have a certain level of trust, even if I haven't built that trust. We'd be okay. If you have a tiger from Jason Balin, you're going to have a good animal. Or if you have a certain, in carpets, it may be a certain line of an animal. But yeah, I think that's important to, obviously the quality of the snake, but also in the future when people, ask you about the parents, you can say, hey, this was from so-and-so, one of the best carpet breeders out there. This is from Nick Mutton, and therefore I know it has lineage up to the highest degree. Like that kind of thing, like that goes a far way, and sometimes in different species more so than others. But Yeah,
Well,
that's something that I would pay attention to.
It goes in everything. Like I know Justin, just because he seeds a bears doesn't mean he's buying it. You know, he looks for
yes,
certain
it does.
things too. Yeah, like that one you got from is it Daniel Parker? Is it like a granite?
That's the Paraloma altus.
Yeah, when I saw that thing in person, like holy crap, man, that animal is awesome. You know, and he's gonna build a project off of that because he got quality stock. You know.
And
how did you pick your projects, Justin?
I mean, as far as green trees, my motto pretty much from day one when I decided I wanted to breed them was I just want to make cool green snakes. You know, chondro guys, you have dudes that are like hardcore about designer stuff. You have guys that are hardcore about locality stuff. And people are like, well, what are you? And I'm like, if I think it'll produce some cool looking stuff, I'm going to pair it. You know, that's why I got Evan's male, because I think that male with some Biak blood in it is going to produce some really oddball stuff. And it was the same with cresteds. I like taking cresteds from like two opposite ends of the color spectrum. Like my first pairing was like this really nice orange flame female, and then just this concrete gray male. Like I hadn't seen any other one like him. And I was like, I'm gonna put these together and see what happens. And some of it's, I mean, you're gonna strike out. Like some of the cresteds I completely struck out. Like they were babies that weren't that great looking. And with cresteds, it's like you're either breeding them for people who want them as pets, or you're breeding them for people who are breeders and want like top tier, you know, genetics and good looking animals. So I got a pretty good mix of both depending on what the pairings were. But I mean, like the Bairds, I haven't even really started thinking about it. I have my adult pair, the first pair of Bairds I got, like those are ready now. The Brettles, I'd like to pursue more of the high black stuff, but I don't know, like green trees, if I think it might produce something cool, then I'll put them together. I know I'm not super picky. I have one of the babies from David Brahms that he produced this year, and that one is really special because that comes from Rico Walder lineage. That was from a project I guess him and Gary Schiavino did together. So like having that in the collection, like that's a big deal. Like that I likely won't just pair to anything, because that's, you know, I want to preserve the Rico stuff. You know, there's only so much of that floating around now. I feel there's sort of a responsibility to sort of keep that not necessarily pure, but do right by it. You know, it's kind of an honor to have his sort of legacy in my collection. And because the animals that David paired that produced that animal, like they both came straight from Signal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like there's like some other person threw something in here. Like these are from, you know, the Godfather. And but I just want to produce cool green snakes. I'd keep them all if I could. I love chondros so much, man. Like if I could hold on to every single one of them, I would.
And I think at the end of the day, you know, there are those people who keep those snakes that are for pets and they don't breed them every year. And there are those people that breed them every year. But I think no matter what, as long as you love what's in your collection, to me, there's no harm either way. Like, yes, we're going to continue to pretty much breed all of our adults every year, but I love every single one.
We also have corn snakes who are apt to breed every single year.
Right,
with some of the rare stuff, or some things that can really take a lot out of them. It can be dangerous, but with corns, they're gonna go whether you like it or not, pretty much. So
yeah. Well, with the Bairds, you know, the Bairds or the Western Hogs, whatever. Like, if I produce some, I don't expect them to sell all that great. But if I have a friend like a Billy or someone came to me and was like, "Hey, I want to try out Bairds," pay for shipping, and I'll send you, you know, one or two of them, whatever. Like, I'm not, you know, when I don't really do it for the money necessarily. It's just, you know, I have no problems hooking people up if, you know, they're good friends.
We're trying to try on a pair for size.
I think we'll definitely have Bairds in the future, but the issue is I'm not an annoying person who only likes adults, and I know that's not going to happen.
No, but watching them change is really cool. Like watching that color start to slowly creep in.
I'm so particular about the things I like. I know I'll be pissed if I spend 3 years and it doesn't come out the way I'm just so, even right now, like with like our Goinai, it's been so long. People sent me like 20 different Goinai. I don't want either of them because I'm just very, very particular. And so I feel like I got to get two adults, but I know that's probably not going to happen.
And also there's things like we know a guy, there's a guy, Antoine Burke.
That's where I want to get him from.
He's in Staten Island, but he's been breeding colubrids for forever. And at White Plains, he always comes with like pictures of the adults. He does like Theori, Bairdi, and some other colubrid species, and he has like the adults at the top of the display case, and then the babies underneath them. And then he also has like a literal physical like flip book of pictures of all the animals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you have to do it, or else you are kind of shooting in the dark.
Yeah.
Well, it's gotten right. I can't tell if the locality thing especially is like gotten out of hand or not. Like, to me, it seems like now if it doesn't have a locality, people are like, is it even legit?
That's annoying.
You know, it's like, it's just gotten, I don't know. I can't tell if like it's good that people are really pushing the locality thing now, or like pursuing it, or if it's just one of those things that's kind of like.
It's one of those things that is
overblown.
Like hybridizing carpets.
People are thinking about it too much.
Yeah. Yeah. Billy's over there like.
Is that a dig? You taking shots?
No. It's like, that's actually, I'm saying that hybridizing carpets isn't a big deal, but people make it out to be the end of the world.
So some of the best advice I was given when I started all this was, let me preface it. There's room in the hobby for every type of person, whether if you want to be a pure guy, a mixed guy, hybrid guy, whatever. And everyone should represent everything as what it is. And if you don't know what it is, say you don't know what it is. You know, I've lost a lot of sales because, especially my first couple jungle clutches, my female was undocumented. I got her because she was a pretty snake.
Impure.
It is what it is. Yeah, impure, whatever. But I tell people, they're like, "Oh, what line is this from?" I don't know. I can make something up or say what she looks like, you know, and try to get over on somebody, but I'm not going to do that. But the best advice I was given was buy with your eyes, not what people says. You know, if you like the animal, get the animal. Yeah. You know, you're going to be the one taking care of it for the rest of its life. You know, I think people get super caught up in pedigree and all that, lineage, and like Justin was saying, is it this locality? Is it even worth me getting?
Yeah, Alterna are really bad about it too. Like Alterna, if you have like undocumented Alterna and you pair them, good luck selling them to Alterna guys, because like the locality thing with Alterna is so hardcore, and that's one of the things about chondros I like a lot too. Is like, is it actually the
you guys ignore that species exists? You guys just ignore that there's anything other than a chondro that you put together. All of a sudden, these things are turning blue, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. What the fuck? You know,
to me, locality with chondros, like, yeah, it's a thing, but at the same time, it's like, unless you went and plucked it from Papua New Guinea yourself or from the farm that it quote unquote came from, you know, who knows? There's always going to be a degree of unknown uncertainty. And so I think that's why a lot of chondro guys don't really worry about it that much. There are a few guys that focus on some cool stuff like the Arfucks and some other localities that are like, there's not a lot of them floating around, and they try to keep that pure, and that's cool and all. But for the most part, it's like, yeah, it's labeled as a Tamika, but is it actually, who knows?
Right.
You're just taking somebody's word for it at the end of the day.
And how many hands has it changed since it came into the country, you know, from importer to exporter, whatever, you know, how many different, it's like the telephone game, you know, it starts out as one thing. By the time it gets to its final destination, it went from being a Wamina to a freaking Maruki or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a Maruki. The guy told me so. No one knows. Who knows?
And then how many times?
Well, and then you find out that all the localities are just cities that are close to wherever they got it, and it's
just a region, like a radius.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, like with the Alterna, like we're already past where it's understood that like localities are very important. Like, you know, we weren't around where that was coming, but we're in the middle of some of the other, like with the Bairds and everything, where it's like, oh, it's not just an understanding that no, locality is very important. Some people are kind of on the fence. And it's interesting to watch, like, will the Bairds become like the Alterna, where it's like, nope, you better do locality. There's nothing about it, you know? Because I feel like with Alterna, there's no with Alterna, there's no going around it. Like, everyone knows those mountains, everyone knows those random farm road numbers, 70s, whatever.
Yeah, and that's what I don't understand about it. Is like, we actually have access to those still. Like, we can still get those wild caught animals. I understand with carpets, you know, when there's different localities or lines, because we don't have the convenience of just going, okay, I want gelatin localities. Like, let me go get some. It's not like green trees to an extent, or the Alterna where it's like, okay, I want Christmas mountains. Okay, well, there's someone who lives in that area who can find me some. Some of these things, it does matter because we just don't have access to it anymore. So I get that. Like, I get the aspect of preserving it because it's just not something you can get fresh blood in, like popwins. Popwin carpet's a prime example. Like, you can get imported popwins and know that they're pure imported popwins because they came from there. But with all the Australian stuff, it's a crapshoot. That's when the lineage stuff, I think, really does matter. But I think a lot of like locality corns, to me, like, I like South Carolina corns. I love. I think they're the best corns in the world, naturally. And so I like kind of having that little pet project, but to pick and choose and be like, this one's from this county in Alabama and it looks just like a Miami. It's like, whatever.
I don't even know what I would say if someone asked me what locality corns.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know. We have a lot of barrier islands here on the coast, and so you get a lot of different phenotypes, different islands and stuff, and I kind of like that. So that's just something I'm tinkering
And
with.
especially, I mean, it's easy to say when you're in South Carolina, because it's another thing to sell. Like, there's plenty of other locale of corns, but South Carolina, anyone can say most of the animals there. Not even just people don't realize that it's not just like Jasper County. They don't know the county line, and they stop looking, like beautiful red, orangish, black, oakety looking animals. I mean, you can get that obviously in Beaufort. Those animals are pretty much on par with what you would see in like
Jasper County is like 20 minutes away. Like, it's right there. I mean, it's actually technically, I guess, in Beaufort County. It's just its own little thing. But like Eastern Kings, it does kind of matter too, because you have a lot of variation in Eastern Kings. The ones from Virginia Beach are going to look completely different from the ones down here. So I do kind of get that too, but Eastern Kings aren't super popular. They have their little core group, but
dude, in like southern Georgia, you can find like black and yellow ones.
Yeah, like I understand some of them. I get some of the locality thing I understand, but some of the other times I'm just like, really? Like some of the Spilotes, I've seen some of the Spilotes where they're like, this came from this region of Costa Rica or wherever they're from. I'm like, no one else is keeping those. Does it really matter? Like, it looks exactly the same as all the other ones I've seen. So what is different about this one to make you have to specify or even really care that it's from this mountain?
Don't say that to Jason.
And he's going to know more about that than I will, because if I see two Spilotes next to each other that are the same species, I'm going to be like, I don't see any major difference, because I haven't. But not to say it doesn't.
The same as, I didn't think it was a big deal either. He was explaining it to me. It's the same as every other species. It's pretty crazy. They're just not as popular, so it's not in your face as much.
Yeah,
right. It's just clearly there's going to be two camps to every little corner of the hobby.
Just the overall question I have is like, are we taking it too far? Are we worrying about it too much?
We're worrying about localities when people are breeding the scales off of snakes.
Exactly.
I mean, not that I'm like totally fucking against that or anything, but just if you said that to a normal person on the street, it would be pretty obvious that that's crazy.
I don't get the scaleless thing. I don't dislike it. I just don't understand. Like, we keep reptiles because they have scales and stuff. Why would you want something that doesn't have that?
I breed hybrids, so I can't throw stones.
They're still snakes. I mean, they still have scales.
No, definitely. I mean,
no. I was supporting Billy. I was not supporting the scaleless.
I was amazed at how many there were at Daytona, though.
I feel like scaleless just aren't snakes.
I was amazed at the number of corn snakes, period, at Daytona. I hadn't seen that many corn snakes at a show probably ever.
Daytona's a weird show, man.
And I've just had so many people hit me up as far as that. It seems like Daytona is kind of a colubrid show, more so to where Tinley's. I mean, it's a ball python show.
Yeah.
Do you think that ball pythons are kind of like, people are starting to kind of spread out from those now? Like, you think?
I don't see it.
Yes and no, but I think the market is kind of like stabilized, which I think is pretty interesting.
How so?
Because I feel like animals that I saw when I was paying attention, say like 2014, to when that was really when like the market went down. And now I feel like we're seeing a lot of people via YouTube getting more people into it, because it's kind of like I think it will always be around, because it's kind of, what was that company where they used to convince all the kids to sell it? It had like energy drinks and protein powders and stuff.
What?
Okay, I may be going crazy. It was like one of those pyramid schemes where basically what I'm saying is there's always another sucker to keep it going. Meaning like there's always someone, because I hear more and more people selling them and selling the aspect of making money on them, which I feel like is why it was big in the beginning, is because people like Ralph Davis were like really selling the dream. I think people kind of forget how big of a sales job that was in order to get people into ball pythons, to create that market, to like, you were literally selling this animal based on the fact that you could make money back on it. And I don't think we do that very often anymore.
Yeah.
But that person still exists. The person who is looking for that hope, is looking for that one thing that all they got to do is pair together and get 8 eggs, and then they're financially free. And that's something to where I think is always going to appeal to people to a certain degree. And you're always going to, whether the market gets really small or whatnot, it may depend, but
yeah, I've never paid a whole lot of attention to the whole ball python thing. I've had a few over the years, and I mean, I didn't enjoy them as much. I got into Morelia pretty early, so I caught that bug, and that kind of stuck with me. But I don't see how people go into it like with that attitude of, this is an investment and I'm going to make money. Cause it's like, I don't know. I don't see how they've stayed, like how that rat race has stayed running for so long. Cause you would figure at some point people would be like, this is exhausting. I can't keep up. I don't want to deal with these anymore. Like, and I mean, if people enjoy that species, that's cool. Like I said, I don't have any issues with ball pythons. I try to wrap my head around that whole thing, and I don't get it. But my favorite ball python morphs are also just your everyday pastel and everyday Mojave. That's it. I don't know.
We saw some crazy ones at Travis's house.
But I mean, he lost me after like the 4 names.
Yeah, some of them it's getting out of hand. It's like,
yeah, it's like I understood somewhat why he explains like, but this is to put this with this, to make this with this, and this contrasts with this, and this will bring this out and this. And I'm like, yes, I get it, and you're smart, and you make things sound really smart, Travis. But it's just like candy yellow ball, blah blah. I don't.
Yeah, you lost me at like pinstripe
like
clown, double head, recessive.
And also, I think my eye is not trained for ball pythons. Like, I swear, if you were into ball pythons, I think I would be even.
Corn snakes are pretty obvious. They're pretty bright in comparison.
There was multiple ball pythons he showed us, and I was like, those all look like normals to me.
I like the highways a lot. The highways look really cool. Highways are awesome.
Yeah, we saw like a freeway pastel orange dream thing.
I don't know how people keep it.
No,
I truly don't know how people keep it in their heads.
I mean, the Punnett squares must be a freaking nightmare. How?
1 out of 256.
Wait, what did Travis say? His this girl was waiting for him to. She was
this girl wanted a normal. She wanted it. That's all she wanted. And she kept asking him, like, did you produce a normal? Did you produce a normal? And he was like, well, all of these clutches I'm doing all have about 4 or 5 genes in them. So the chances of me producing a normal is like, he said it, like 1 out of 250, something similar.
It was like literally close to what
Billy just said, like something crazy. He's like, the chances of me producing a normal are so low because all of these snakes have 5 or 6 genes in them.
And it's the same way with the Western hog, like I was saying.
I've never seen someone hold out for a normal for so long.
They moved past the Western hog so fast.
He finally got a normal.
Like the morph crazy hog noses showed up, and everyone's like, normals? Pfft, forget that. Like, I'm going to produce super anaconda, Arctic, sable, scaleless things. And it's some people just want a normal. And I want to be the guy that produces just normals.
Well, I'm gonna keep on making mutants, so I like both.
Well, like Billy said earlier, I think there's a place for everyone. Like, you know, even though we sit here and we talk about ball pythons and whatever, they all have their place. The $2,000 ball python breeder has their place. The $20.
And I'm glad that rack that Billy's in front of exists, because that wouldn't exist without, you know, such a good product wouldn't exist without stainless steel racks, wouldn't exist without ball pythons, or, you know, just our modern way that we keep snakes at this point is just.
Yeah,
Because
no ball pythons in them, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's just that I'm glad that it gave us some type of infrastructure in comparison to.
It made the hobby grow. I mean,
Yeah,
we all like to take jabs at ball pythons and stuff, but without them, the hobby wouldn't be anywhere near where it's at today.
Absolutely, you have to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, and like 90% of we at least have bred ball pythons before. Or have I guess neither of you guys have you?
Did both of you skip over that?
I tried, and I was unsuccessful. I guess I'm the one guy that can't breed balls.
Billy, didn't you say earlier everyone knows how to do that?
He did.
Well, I'm not everyone.
Did you grow them up, or did you just have adults that you put together?
Oh, I grew them up, and I had.
So you did everything right.
Well, I was still figuring out the hobby too. I was still pretty new to it, and I wasn't doing things the right way. I was just throwing them together and seeing what happened. I got bored of them before I nailed it down. So.
Like I said, I got into Morelia early. So to me, when I kept a ball python after keeping carpets, I was like, these things aren't really all that fun.
Can't go backwards.
But they're still cool snakes. I mean, they're still a snake, so I still appreciate them. Like I've said on the podcast before, you know, the morphs are cool. I appreciate them for what they are. You know, I can't keep up with them, but if I see a cool ball python, I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, it's not like, oh, it's a ball python, disgusting. Throw it in the trash. You might as well feed that to your indigo. You know, it's not like that at all. It's whatever. It's just ball python guys are just such an easy target. You know?
I know. I kind of feel bad sometimes. Like, I know there's a lot of ball python breeders that listen to our podcast, and I kind of.
And then it's funny also because you go to Tinley and, like, I don't know, in a way they're like the cool kids of the group, and they're the hot item, and we're just the nerds with the dirt snakes,
the different stuff,
the crappets.
The crappets.
I mean, I will say, and I've said this before, Jake continues to disagree with me, that chondros are the superior Morelia.
I think
Definitely.
Morelia overall is superior to all other genuses.
Yeah, but chondros.
That was your out, bro.
Chondros are the superior Morelia. And Jake's like, yeah, well, mine all ate on the first try. I'm like, yeah, that's because Stevie Wonder could breed Popwins.
Whoa.
Even Billy could breed Popwins, right?
Helen Keller could breed Popwins.
Okay.
You want to get on some Stephen Hawking level shit, you breed chondros. Neil deGrasse Tyson could kick ass at chondros. You guys got Snooki breeding Popwins.
I mean, I think rough scale is like the extra special Morelia at this point.
I'm reading
the chat. Feel that way.
What makes me feel that way? The fact that they're like one of the rarest pythons in the world, and we have them for some reason.
But there's a million of them.
Because Bolins aren't in Morelia anymore.
They're still Morelia. I don't care what people say. Scrubs, Boelens, all that stuff. If it's Somalia, it's always going to be Morelia.
Close enough.
They're always going to get lumped in with that. It's never.
But then chondros are going to be chondros. But then you're saying that they're the best Morelia, but they're still chondros. So
yeah,
that's why I breed them together.
Yeah, Billy's like going to go around all this. He's going to combine Snooki and Neil deGrasse Tyson to create a super snake that eats like a carpet but looks like a green tree. So he's like, screw all y'all. I got this figured out.
The cheat code.
I don't care if you make the ball Bolins or whatever the hell. I mean, I think it's all in good fun. It's blasphemy, but I won't hate on you for.
Apparently, Boelens is the wrong way to say it. Is it Bolins?
Yes,
Poland's.
I've heard people
Poland's.
say it that way, but I don't know if that's yeah.
Macklets.
Add that to the list, Justin. Yeah, there you go.
Whatever.
I'm so excited about my Macklots. You guys
Dude.
have no idea.
Your Macklets are sweet.
Macklots are awesome.
Macklets are awesome.
How old are they?
Macklots.
Cool snakes.
I got a 3-year-old female and a 2-year-old male, a yearling pair, and then a hatchling female.
Do they need like a solid 4 to 5 years, or can you give them a go at 3?
I've heard you can give them a go at 3, but I'm gonna wait till my male is a little bigger, and then go from there. That's another one. Nobody cares about them. Everyone cares. Lives in Savus, and now Duns. Nobody really cares about the Macklots anymore. So, but it's just something I'm excited about. So
Yeah, seeing your Macklets, man, they're awesome. Really pretty snakes. I love some Macklets.
I just keep thinking chicklet in my head. Whenever he says Macklet, my brain says chicklet, and I don't know why. You know the little gum
that's good
thing?
Macklets.
Yes, of course they know.
And I'm like, but they're not the same.
But all of Liasis is both amazing and for the most part underappreciated.
Right. And that's what everyone says. They all say they're underrated and all that, but how many of those people have one and just keep
Yeah,
them?
exactly. Like, man, those are really cool. You want some? No.
You're not that I'm trying to sell any, but how many times do you hear that about a species? I've heard that about Macklots for 10 plus years now.
Timors in particular, like
Timors too. You think those would be blown up by now because everyone's always talking about how awesome they are.
Luke Myers had some Timors, and those are pretty cool. He was pretty sad when he got rid of his, but he was telling me how awesome they are.
Those are cool. I've heard they're dirty. They're painters.
I actually heard something the other day about them. I don't know how true it is, but they're like this weird splitting point between like retics and scrubs or something like that.
I've heard that.
I didn't know about that, but it makes sense after looking at them. I'm like, holy shit, that's right, because it does kind of look like both. Like someone was like, I'm not going to pair a ball python and a retic. I'm going to pair a scrub and a retic. Except it was God who did it, and he made Timor. And yeah, take that, Christians.
hitting all the bases, man.
That's right.
So
Getting everybody involved.
Yep, just if you offend everyone, then you offend no one, right? That's how it goes.
Not always, Melissa.
That was Justin's logic before: everyone or no one.
Underrated doesn't always mean difficult.
But I feel like a lot of times I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, it's so underrated, it's so cool, but then they're not working with it because
but then you pick up a Timor and it shits on you,
and bites. Right. So I think a lot of the things that people think are underrated and cool are also a lot of the times maybe size is a factor or aggression or all that kind of stuff.
Or like people always love to be like, oh, your water python's amazing, but if I hand them a baby water python, they wouldn't like it.
I mean, they're not for everybody, that's for sure. But I've just heard so many people say it's almost like a cliche now, like, oh, they're so underrated or this or that. But yet you see them at the show and they're getting the 8-gene ball python, and it's like, all right, you already have a small army of them.
They're cool and underrated, but it's not neon colors, so why do I want it?
Yeah,
it's not an investment animal, Billy. Investments.
I am fully aware with all my animals, I'm never going to make my money back. I've already come to terms with that. That's not why I got into this. Like Justin was saying, people that get into it with that mentality, more power to them. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not going to end well.
Well, yeah, you're just waiting for one bad thing to happen, and it gives you a reason to give up because your intentions aren't pure. But that's kind of cliche to say, but it's you gotta love what you're doing, and at the end of the day, I mean, at least the way we look at it, we are trying to make money, but
it is a business.
We want to do it in a way that
does play a factor in it.
Yeah,
like people who like I something that drives me crazy is people are like, well, it's a business, so you're worried about money. It's like, well, yeah, if I'm doing it as a business, money does play a part in it. How much of a part it is on you? Yeah.
It's not the part.
Exactly.
It is just part of it. Yeah.
I can tell you that definitely we've had leaner times, whether it's financially or, as far as snakes, there's no money coming in, and you feed more, you do everything when you have money available, and you can make money off the snakes, and you can buy more caging and do all that stuff. So I think oftentimes we're able to reinvest the money. So, I mean, that's really what I want, is to at least have money come in so that I can spend it on snakes.
Or not all snakes, but snake things, like getting some more hatchling racks and doing, things like
making
that.
things more convenient.
Yeah. But also I think, I don't know, less snakes will escape if they're in a hatchling rack. That's a factor.
That's one downside of colubrids.
Yep. Little tiny devils that if you leave the smallest crack. Look at it. It was funny just being at Travis's, like looking at his cages. I look at cages from the colubrid eye. The whole time I'm like, oh, can't have a corn snake in that. Oh, can't do that. And it's like, no, but these cages weren't built for corn snakes.
There was a Doomrose boa in it.
Yeah, all these different things. There's a blackhead in one of them. Like, these weren't built for corn snakes ever. But it's very interesting. Like, we all have this kind of lens on based on what we work with of how we look at things. Like, not saying we're, totally blindsided to how other people look at it or can't even think about it, but it definitely affects how we see things. Like when I walk into someone's room or anything like that, how I see an animal, we have that kind of colubrid lens on.
Yeah. But that's like your default setting. If that's what you're focused on, then that's what you're going to be looking for,
And we view everything through that. And I think
if that's what you're focused on, then that's the way you should be looking at it.
Definitely. Yeah. And even things like size. I'm like, I think before I got into snakes, if someone had said, oh, like if Joe on our first date had been like, oh, most of my snakes are like 5 feet, I probably been like, or 3 to 5 feet, I would have freaked out. But now I'm like, 3 to 5 feet is nothing. Like I do that every day. And it's not like, like that's nothing. But still, the 8, 12 feet things, that is really big for me still. But I'm sure there's people out there who do it every day. And like, this isn't a problem. And so we all, depending on what we work with, we view things all very different.
Yeah.
I
Chondro guys aren't going to look at a rack the same way a ball python guy will, like what Billy has. For what Billy does, that's perfect for his stuff. But for chondros, that's not something I would do. But whatever.
Yeah, or some people I'm able to let my room swing a certain amount, or or who was
like
it?
Those people who have to keep things so specific, when they walk into a room, they probably look for the thermostat first, or like their eye is called to the thermostat to see like, oh, what kind of thermostat are they using? Oh, what timber? There's different things.
Or they'll be like, you don't have a ceiling fan?
What?
Like that's the most effective. Like so there's a lot of people who swear on different things.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of wish we had a ceiling fan.
They help. Someone in chat made a good point. Like, I can't post a meme on the freaking THP account without someone showing up and ruining the party. I don't know. Y'all get a lot of that, though. Y'all get a lot of comments and stuff where you're like, who are you?
Memes. We don't post memes too often.
I just mean in general. Like, you can't do anything now without someone piping up and either being upset about it or something. And I used to be at a point where I just kind of ignored it. Now I'm just like, whatever. I post something on Instagram and it's got a hashtag ball python and it's not a ball python. I have people who post, they're like, why is this hashtag ball python in this? I'm like,
oh, we've been getting that lately.
Because I want to.
I'm trying to do my job and create free content for you. And I just want it to be seen by people, man. I don't know what to tell you.
My take on that, and I don't remember where I said it, but like I do hashtags with stuff like that. Like it'll be a picture of a chondro and they'll have a ball python hashtag. And I'm like, because I want maybe someone who's scrolling through ball pythons, who's maybe new to the hobby, isn't familiar with what a green tree python is. So they see that in the feed and then they're like, wow, I wonder what that is. I'm going to look into it. And then they end up like researching green trees and then they end up getting one. Doesn't have to be for me, but it's just like drawing more attention to the species, like I said before. And so people are like, why is this hashtag in here? This isn't a ball python. It's like, are you sure? It'll be a picture of a bear. That's not a ball python. I'm like, really?
Ooh, what is it? Tell me, please. Because you
don't
know what it is.
It's just the point. I just like mess with people now. Like I don't. Whatever. You're gonna take the time to be a little punk ass. I'm gonna give it right back to you.
Fighting words.
Well, I posted a picture of my Python portal with one of the green trees in it, and I had a couple of European guys that were like, "Fuck that way of keeping snakes." And I'm like, "Okay." I just gave him a little thumbs up.
I stopped posting on a beauty snake group because they would just jump my ass every time I'd post my Chinese beauties in a rack. They would lose their minds on me. It's where I was like, screw it. You guys obviously aren't open to other ideas, because they think everybody should have zoo quality enclosures. I'm not going to dedicate a whole room to one, Chinese beauty. So,
yeah,
whatever. Screw them.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's supplying the hobby with Chinese beauties in 6-foot cages. Unfortunately, it just probably isn't very possible. Unfortunately, I mean, that's the thing. It's not even. It doesn't even make any sense for someone like you who has 100 snakes. And
well, obviously, the easy answer to that is, hey, maybe don't have so many snakes, but it's not your collection. So.
Yeah, and that's pretty much where I'm at with the whole like naturalistic versus like simple sterile setups is like if the snake is appearing to be healthy and doesn't seem to be having any issues, doesn't seem to be stressed, what's the problem? Like if it's working for you and the snake is thriving, and sure there's a difference between surviving and thriving, but to me the whole argument of natural versus simple setups is like that all goes out the window when you're keeping them in a 200 quart tub. Like if you want to talk about natural versus the whatever we do here in the States, whatever you want to call it, artificial or I don't know what the term is, but it's like that the whole argument is kind of invalid when you're keeping them in captivity, period.
We're keeping snakes in boxes at the end of the day.
Exactly.
If you put a couple live plants in there or it's just some paper towels, And
that's not saying anything about the European guys. Lawrence Kenchington with his scrubs, like his setups are freaking awesome. There's a lot of guys that keep venomous in Europe that have incredible vivaria that they're in, and that's awesome and all, but that's just not something like. It's funny how just divided like the hobby is compared like there to here. Just how much more elaborate and how smaller collections are over there compared to here. And I don't like to say one way's better than the other. Like I said, if it works for you and the snake is fine, like is eating fine, isn't sick, isn't having any issues. Because one of the things with the Python portal that I posted the other day was like, that's all it gets. Like it just gets a perch and a water bowl. And it's like, yeah, it's like, you ever kept a chondro? Like they don't care. They don't care. The Boiga, those have more hides, those have more coverage because they need it. Like they stress easily. Chondros don't give a shit. They sit on a stick all day and sleep. Like they're the laziest snakes I've ever kept.
So if you put it in a wooden cage with the same size wooden perches and a fake vine around it, it's going to be better.
Exactly.
It's not any different. Yeah.
Yeah.
My experience with chondros with setting them up like that is that they start to rebel and want to die as soon as you put them into something. I try to do naturalistic setup, and it was kind of in like a high traffic
I did that with my
and
first one, and it failed miserably. I killed that snake in like a month.
They don't like that. It's like, okay, I'll stick you in a bin on top of a rack, and then I'll see you when I feed you and clean you.
And a lot of that stuff is just that person telling you that because that sort of setup makes them feel better.
Yeah.
Like the snake doesn't care, but because you think that it matters, you then think that it matters to the snake, and the snake didn't tell you that. So how do you know?
My snake calls me. Thank you very much.
The whole thing of like that snake's unhappy. It's like no one knows. No one's right or wrong, really, and that whole argument is kind of where I'm at with it. Is like we don't, unless we can somehow telepathically jump into the minds of these animals, we don't know.
And I would love to give everything that I can for my snakes. And if husbandry evolves, and I think it should evolve, I mean, I think we can always do more. I don't want to always impede on progress, but I also don't want to go the opposite way, because where we're coming from is from a more naturalistic. I mean, before the whole industry took off, that's how everyone was keeping, as far as, they were converting a cabinet. They were putting a bunch of random plants in there. They were doing all they could to make a beautiful display cage. And I'm sure that worked for people as well. And then it was kind of popular to have a more commercial setup because, all the people we saw on YouTube or wherever the hell, had that certain setup. Or, you saw Ben Rennick with that, like everything was like bleach white and amazing and like sterile looking, like it looked like a lab.
Mm-hmm.
And then like people were just infatuated by that shit and went really, really simple. And now I feel like reptile rooms are eclectic and people are trying all different things, which I think is always good.
And there are some things I disagree with, like keeping large, big berms, big retics, and, small 8-foot whatevers, that I'm kind of like, they probably do need a little more than that. Dwarf caimans, prime example too. People buy those. They get adult sizes. They can't reasonably keep an adult in the setup it needs or should be in.
Water monitors?
Yeah, water monitor. I mean, any of the bigger stuff, like those need space. Like you don't see zoos keeping these animals in tiny setups where they can't really like fully stretch out and whatever. So some of it I do think like, yeah, there is a point. They do need more space than what's given, but whatever. Not my snakes, not my circus, not my monkeys.
I like that.
Not
That's
my
basically
problem.
what it all whittles down to.
Yep. And that's what I tell people too. People want to gripe about setups, and it's like, is it your problem? No, if I see something I disagree with, it's not my problem. I don't care. Whatever. Sucks for the snake. I feel bad for it, but there's nothing I can do about it. That person's going to do whatever they're going to do.
There's a person who has an animal in a rack that they're neglecting or have it in a cage with all the best shit, but since they put isopods and whatever, they're not doing anything and it kept like shit. I'm sure that's a thing too. So
yeah, whatever. There's nothing you can do about it. What are you going to do? Go to that person's place and confiscate their animal? No, you're just going to gripe about it on the internet. No one's going to actually agree on anything. No one's going to change their mindset. And everyone just goes to bed pissed off. Because the stranger on the internet, the anonymous picture and name, made me mad.
Well, a way to go home or go to bed not pissed off is to listen to a great podcast and reach out to great people. So Billy and Justin, Billy and Justin, if someone wanted to reach out to you, what is the best way to get in contact with you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and I do have a YouTube channel too, Uwabami Reptiles. That's the easiest way to get in contact with me. Or now with me and Justin, the magazine too.
Yeah, when does the magazine come out? Do you guys have a set date every month now?
The end of the month, each month right now. So the second issue, I think, did we decide we're going to drop that after Thanksgiving?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. End of November.
He'll drop it like 2 weeks early.
If it's done with the holidays and stuff, it's going to be a little squirrely. We'll kind of have to play it by ear.
And how can people find it?
It's on issue.com. If you go and find us on Instagram or Facebook, it's just Herpetoculture Magazine. You can get a link to the first issue on our Instagram in the bio. And then on Facebook, I think I pinned that post to the top, so you can just go to our Facebook page, and it should be right there.
And if you don't know, issue is spelled weird. It's
yeah.
not like normal issue. It's ISSUU.
Yeah, I've looked into other platforms and stuff. I think we need to upgrade our account in order to get it on Google and iOS or whatever, the Apple Store.
But really, go to their Instagram, give them a follow, and follow the link, and then your life is easy. And
it's
Justin,
free. You can read it on your phone. You can read it on your computer. You can read it on your tablet, whatever you want to do. Snapchat, I don't care. Read it wherever there's an electronic screen.
And there's pretty pictures.
Yes.
Good words.
For guys like James Lewis, I put a lot of pictures in there to make it easy.
Yeah, he's got to figure out how to make a pop out.
I know him and Ryan Cox need those pictures. There's a lot of words, big words in there. That Louisiana and Kentucky brain just gets a little.
Excuse me?
Yeah, you too. There's pictures. We can work on finding a way to get like a coloring page in there for some folks.
Oh, okay, that'd be great. I'd like that.
Yeah,
one of those adult coloring pages that take you like 20 hours to complete.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
Hot, huh? It's hot in here.
Me?
Yeah. You drinking some rocks?
Oh no, they're the like fake ice cube thingy bobbers.
That makes sense, huh? Fake ice cube. It's
Yeah.
like these stones that you put in the freezer.
Yeah,
and-
no, I use those for the scotch and stuff. It
Fake-
doesn't water it
Fake
down.
ice cubes.
Yeah.
My wine wasn't cold enough yet, so I put the fake ice cubes. Yeah, I'm interested more in what Billy was drinking in that girl's tumbler.
In my Uwabami tumbler?
That's his Uwabami tumbler. Whoa.
How dare you?
It looks very feminine. I'm sorry.
My band's branding is on point.
That was a gift from a family member. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
Wow,
asshole.
you're a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
It was a present from my
Louisiana
team.
people, huh? Jeepers.
It was-
They're not that sharp. She didn't catch on very quick. So
it just looked- you didn't know it was his own thing.
no, but I wasn't gonna say what's that girly ass drink you got.
I didn't
there?
say it like that.
He didn't answer what it was in it because he was so offended. but-
Yeah,
Didn't
nice
even
tumbler.
get to the
Nice
heart of the
service. Did
question.
you get it Pier 1 Imports?
I had whatever. I'm
He's
gonna
got
keep
the best
drinking out
shirt
of this.
though. He's got that shirt that says if you're what does it say? If you want herps, get with me.
Yeah.
What?
Wait,
Yeah,
That's very
awesome.
brave to wear that shirt in public.
He wore it at
I ain't
Daytona.
scared.
That's great.
I
I
think
wear that
Daytona's
shirt and I drink out of this cup.
in Daytona is perfectly acceptable. Just outside of the snake world, I bet you get a lot of looks.
Eh. I live in the South. I'm getting looks anyway.
He's in Florida. It's like another
What does
planet.
that? What does that mean? You live
Anything
in the
goes
South,
in
you get
Florida.
looks.
Yeah, everything goes. Yeah. Very judgy.
God's waiting room.
Yeah, a lot of old people staring down their nose at you.
Yeah, I feel that old people heat is real. The
Ah,
judgment,
That's everywhere.
it's everywhere.
But if people want to find us, they can find us at Port City. But y'all,
Justin didn't even
I
say his
got stuff-
contact info.
oh shoot, back it up, Justin.
Y'all could find me at Palmetto Coast Exotics.
Cigar puff smoke.
YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. Haven't really posted on it in the last like 2 weeks. Facebook, Instagram, Palmetto Coast Exotics, all that good stuff.
Sweet. And then, yeah, and of course, check out Justin and Jake's podcast. And of course, the magazine. And for us, we are at portcitypythons.com, facebook.com. What?
Sorry.
Thanks, Melissa. They're going in on me on the comments now.
Wait.
What happened?
They're going in on me.
I did- So James said you get that tumbler with a free with a mammogram.
Oh.
Oh man.
I have to talk smack about James because every time we do an episode of the show, within like by the morning, we have a meme making fun of us. For
Oh yeah,
something.
he's real good. He's real
Dude.
good.
He has too much time on his hands.
Oh man.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
not going that far. They took it way farther than I was thinking with it.
Oh, Ryan, I'll see you at Carpet Fest, bud.
Digital
Hey,
crayons
okay, on
can't
camp,
be-
very good.
Oh, I like this. Okay, I was trying to end it.
We suck at ending these things.
they
Thank you
said
guys
funny
so much
things.
for
I
listening.
mean, we can do like the Pia and Cody thing and just keep it going if you want.
Yeah, I got work to
We'll
do.
keep it going until 4 a.m.
Yeah, we're
Only
just
the real
there, right?
will be.
I mean, does Carpet Fest end since Cody's there, or is it just 24-hour sprint?
I want to get Cody back on the show, but we also have to find a day where we can clear out half that day
A
to have him on.
weekend. A
Yeah.
weekend.
I have a feeling he doesn't sleep. You think?
No, I don't
if
think
at
he
Carpet
sleeps.
Fest,
No,
I feel
he
like he
doesn't.
wouldn't
Dude.
sleep.
That dude is always going. He's like
Yeah,
the
I need
freaking
some of that
Energizer
energy.
Bunny. He's nuclear powered or something. I don't know how he does it. He
Yeah,
just
we
doesn't
used to
stop.
bottle that up, share it with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
One person doesn't
Yeah.
deserve all that.
It's unfair to hog all that energy.
Exactly.
Harness his DNA and use it. Mix his energy with Jennifer Aniston and Keith Richards, and we will have the secret to immortality. Because you will never age like Aniston, you will never die like Keith Richards, and you will have infinite energy like Cody.
That sounds like a meme for tomorrow, James. Oh, if you ever want to make fun of James Lewis, just call him James. By the way.
James, like with an N?
Yeah. the rest of the world won't get that. I probably shouldn't have said that on a podcast that a
Sick.
bunch of people listen to. Okay. Actually ending this. If you are in the PA or New York area, see us this weekend at the 2 reptile shows. If not, buy our sneaks on the internet. What?
Good.
Next week we'll be back with 2 more friends, and we will see you guys then. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Billy. Whoa, going out with the smoke rings. Fancy. Billy, what's your cool end of the show trick?
Thank
I
you
like
all
it.
for
Simple
listening.
man.
And we will get back to you guys next
Thanks,
week.
y'all.
Yes, like I just said 5 seconds ago.
Hey, man, I just got to tie it all back up again.
That's right.